As you notice, we have our certain objectives here on the screen, right? But before that, let me ask you again the question that I always ask you every time we meet synchronously. Okay, can you type a one-word answer to the question, how are you today? Okay, teachers, can you type, what are you feeling? Are you hungry? I hope you have eaten your breakfast or you are eating at the moment. It's so important that you also have your water with you. Happy. Thank you, ma'am. Narisa, you feel happy? I sorry, you said that privately. Okay, so someone's really happy. I hope that we can transcend, right? Our joy, not just, happiness, but joy to our classmates. How about, okay, someone's feeling nervous. Okay, maybe until now, right? You're still not used to being in the virtual classroom or Zoom conference. That's understandable. Again, I always say this, right? That this is not a normal year for everyone. Everyone's affected, right? Teachers, students, even parents, definitely parents, right? Okay. Feeling excited. Thank you, Sir Mark. Oh, okay. Someone's feeling sick today. I declare healing for you, immediate recovery for you as well. And if you can't, sustain being here, it's okay. You may leave the room so you can rest. Okay, how about, okay, the other one? Very tired one, but still fighting. I like that. Okay, I like that. We find peace or we delight in suffering and we continue to fight, right? Again, it's okay to feel your emotions and feelings and, you know, yeah, you have to be in the moment. Okay, if you need to cry out your emotions, right, you need to, express everything. Give yourself time, moments, at least a minute, right, a minute or 5 minutes if you need more time, right, to pray, right, to have your quiet time. Mixed feelings. Okay, I would like to know what are those emotions that you're feeling, ma'am. Feeling exhausted pero patuloy na sumusulong. Yeah, I like that. Thank you. I appreciate that you continue to strive, right, and survive amidst, everything that's happening. I know we are near the end of the semester, and I can't tell yet because, as you notice, I have there the word last installment on the screen, right? So because this is supposed to be our last, right, topic or discussion, but we'll see, right, because we still have presenters, the native languages. Maybe we will extend, right, but again, ideally this will be the last installment. So you notice, right, you're not given uh what they call this exams, right? Because I mean, given all the assessments I've thrown you, right? I believe those are enough assessments to really identify if you learn, right? If you can really apply what you have learned from the course. So I'm also always thinking about your mental health, your well-being. That's why I don't want to bombard you with so much, even if I am. I know I am. I'm sorry for that, but just look at it, look at the brighter side, look at the purpose and benefits of doing all these things, and definitely these things will benefit you in the future. Maybe now you won't realize that, but in the future. Tired but still fine. Okay, so I think that's, yeah, a common feeling that we all feel, and that exhaustion is not only physical exhaustion, right? Even mental exhaustion, definitely emotional and spiritual exhaustion. So on that part, it's very crucial for us to take our time to breathe in and out. I think we need to have some exercise like that. It's okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, don't worry. I mean, this, you know, I really appreciate you being here in the online, I mean, Zoom conference, because again, this is supplemental. I told you that from the very beginning, right? So I don't want you, and I already told you this, but to reiterate, I told you not to feel sorry if you can't attend. You have intermittent connection, right? I mean, unstable connection, or you're not feeling okay. I mean, that's understandable. You're not being forced to attend the Zoom conference, but you attend, so I appreciate that. Okay. What else is, don't feel sorry if you are late or you missed the class. Don't worry, we have recordings for all these. Thank you. Right? We thank the Lord for the empathy that we can transcend or transfer to our students. And I hope, right, you'll be considerate as well in the future. So I pray for reconciliation and restoration in your family. I thank you for raising that, ma'am. Okay. How about the others? What are you feeling? Okay, I know we have our own domestic situation, and I hope. Okay, I can't be certain, but I just hope that you find right ways to be in your sanity mode, right? I hope you can still compose yourself, right? And you can still find, I mean, private time to really talk to God and pray for it. Okay, so yeah, just to lift your spirit up. Actually, again, I I think I already told you this, right? Just look at your suffering as a great testimony in the future. So right, if you will look at it that way, you will continue to right to strive, right, and actually you will continue to push through with what you are facing at the moment. So someone's feeling in pain, I pray for healing and comfort for you. Again, so I mean, we have our own mini breakdowns, and uh, it's okay, right? You have to give yourself time. You may also seek out to your friends, right? Or to your spiritual leaders, or accountability partners to pray with you, not just for you, but pray with you. Okay, so it's fine. Okay, someone's feeling neutral but curious, right, to learn today's lesson. Actually, this is more of, the technical side or the theoretical side of what you've been doing in the past assessment activities, and we will just dig deeper into that. So let's have the objective. So you will explain the importance of planning your everyday lessons in the whole course or subject. Again, for elementary, in your case, you may call them subjects, right? But in college, you call them courses. So realize that to be an effective teacher, you need to plan and execute your plan well. So it doesn't stop from, I'm sorry that I'm preempting, but yeah, it doesn't stop from planning. It continues to execution, at the same time evaluation, and of course reflection. So you will also assess learning objectives based on SMART, and later I'll introduce you to a longer principle, right? And Bloom's taxonomy. You will create sample lesson plan that will serve as your final requirement. So there's no need to uh, worry about what will be the finals, but this is just an assessment that will be considered at the same time your finals, because it's more application and everything that you've learned in the course. Lesson plan or lesson log and assessment plan in the mother tongue, utilizing the curriculum guide and the templates found in DepEd number 42 series of 2016. Okay, again, thank you so much for all your feedback, your responses to the question of how are we feeling today? And again, let's start with a recall. Before I call, right? Can you type in the chat your name if you're one of the presenters for the native languages that you will share to the class? I'm so excited to learn more about your language. Yeah, please type in the chat your name. I'm sorry, we have people in the waiting room. Okay, okay. May I know? Okay, let's have a recall. Sir Ming, would you like to share what have you learned from the async? Just, from the asynchronous activities that you did last time about literacies in the mother tongue of teaching pedagogical strategies. What was the striking teaching strategy that you may also utilize, or you'd like to modify in the future?
Nandun po sa substantive conversation or
Yeah,
dialogue, nakalagay po din na kapag kakausap tayo ng isang bata, hindi po dapat na ideya lang natin yung ipapasok natin. Kailangan natin magpasok ng ideya natin, pero dapat yung pinakang ideya is magmumula dun sa mga estudyante. Dapat ang
correct.
sinasabi natin is makakapag-firm sila ng mga tanong, and then sila din dapat yung makasasagot mula sa ating mga sagot. Dahil mula
Yes.
sa ating mga binibigay sa kanila.
Yeah, exactly correct, right? Because the environment, the experience should be coming from the learner, right? So, and that is where we're going to relate to them, because not, even the young generation now, right? They differ from one another. For example, one, maybe your sibling, your younger sibling, and your classmates younger sibling or cousin, and they have their own environment in terms of, yeah, playing, in terms of reading, in terms of watching, in terms of different macro skills. So you're right, to make it very substantive, a meaningful conversation, right? The experience should be coming from the learner, and that is where you intercede, right? Or I mean, you intervene at the same time, right? With your meaningful insights, right? You add your inputs, especially if there are things that need to be corrected, right? Or need to be clarified, because again, well, we have to be very cautious and careful with whatever we say to our students, because again, these are young learners and they will definitely bring that, right, or bring those things until they get old. So thank you, that's correct, Sir Ming. One more, you may click your raise a hand, or you may also type in the chat if you're shy to speak. Okay. One. Okay, maybe I should just call Sir Mark. Can you give us a recall of what you learned from the async activities?
Yung pong pinagawa ninyo po,
Mm-hmm.
um, yung ano po, yung sa absent po kasi ako nung last meeting, pero yung sa pinagawa niyo po, natutunan ko pong, yung bang parang yung hindi puwedeng dire-diretso yung facts para hindi ma-overload yung utak ng bata,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
parang
correct.
gano'n. Yun
Yeah, correct, correct. So thank you, Sir Mark. So that also has something to do with law of readiness, right? I mean, and scaffolding at the same time, step by step procedure, slowly, right? You teach them slowly, gradually, but surely. So again, I would like to reiterate what I always tell my education students, that you are teaching the students, not just the subject, or maybe we can say not the subject, right? Because your main purpose is to, that's why we're here. That's why we're called teachers. That's why we teach, right? If there are no students, right, to teach, well, I don't think we are needed still in the classroom, may that be physical or virtual. Okay, oh, we have answer here in the chat. Thank you, sir. Effective conversational strategies based on your understanding. Parang two-way communication po. Natututo po yung bata sa atin, at the same time, natututo rin po tayo sa kanila based on their creativity. That's true, right? In my case, I mean, not just to young learners, but even to adult or teens, right? You actually learn from them, right? Mostly, the kids now. I don't know if you have encountered one, but I did, right? I encountered one or many, right, kids who actually think differently, who actually think maturely than the actual, adults or teens now, and I'm surprised that they understand these things, and especially on the part of emotional learning, right? They're very, what do you call, sensitive to others' feelings, right? They easily discern how are you feeling towards them. Are you mad at them, right? Are you being annoyed, just based on how they observe your speech, your behavior, your personality. So that is how smart the kids are today, and they're very critical, you know thinkers now. So brace yourself, right, that you might be faced or be challenged with the minds of these young learners in today's generation. Okay, so now thank you so much for your recall. I'm certain you've learned a lot. I can say that even though at some point, for example, async activities, and we will not have synchronous like discussion, right? You have your style of learning or pace of learning that you prefer self-directed learning. So in that case, if you expose yourself to the material, right, solely without, any distraction, I think that also, yeah, is helpful. So may I know now, can someone help me? Who are these people who prepared for the presentation of their native languages? Do you remember? You may click raise a hand. I will give you the opportunity to share your screen. Right? I learned last time that if you're many that you assign, right, or you talk about it in a different GC. Do you remember, Mom Elizabeth? Do you remember who are these people? Who are these teachers? Sir May, you remember some? Please tell me if it's possible. I also announced that to our GC. You can't recall? Or are they here? Did they receive my announcement? No? It's okay as well if you're not ready, so we can proceed, right, to our last installment of the lesson for the course. No one? Ma'am Marisma? Oh, okay, it's okay. Add more. Oh, really? Oh, go. You may please unmute yourself, okay, even though without the presentation. It's okay. Again, teachers are still the best visual aid. Take note of that, right? That's why I think I've told you teaching is 30% knowledge and 70% performance. So it's really more in your execution, how well you carry out your lesson. Okay, Sir Ed?
Good day po.
Good day.
Can you hear me clearly, ma'am?
Yes, we can hear you. However, it's not too loud. Maybe you can increase the volume.
Hello po, good morning.
Okay, yeah, that will do.
I'm sorry po, ma'am, I haven't prepared any visual
It's okay.
presentations po, but I have here something to share po with the class. Um, by the way, good day, everyone. My name is Edmund Raya, and for those who doesn't know me yet, I am a Waraynon, and my native
Wow.
language is Waray,
Mhm.
and I grew up in Eastern Samar, and I had my grade school and my junior high school there. And of course, I am grateful that I am given this opportunity to share my native language with you, to share some phrases or terms that we use in our daily life. Um, but before that, let us know first what is the meaning of the word itself, waray, the waray word itself.
Mhm.
In English, waray is it means having nothing, or in Filipino it means wala.
Mhm.
So if we're going to use that for for example, or if we're going to use that in a sentence, it would goes um waray ako kwarta. So kwarta means money. So in English it means I have no money. So that's the meaning of the word waray. But this time, I'm going to share with you, I'm about to share with you the different greetings of the day in Maray language. Um, it would goes, how do we say good morning? How do we say good afternoon? How do we say good evening? How how we say good noon or something like that po. Let's start with good morning. Um, in saying good morning, we say maupay na aga. Maupay means maganda, and aga po means morning. So, maupay na aga. And in in saying po, magandang tanghali, we say maupay na udto. Maupay na udto. And in saying good afternoon po, we use maupay na kulop. And in good evening po, we say maupay na gabi. So if it goes morning, aga, noon, noon, udto, afternoon, kulo, and evening, gabi.
Okay, let's have a recall, okay, of those things. Maupay na aga, maupay na udto. Is it D? Udto?
D
Okay.
po, D
Ah,
for dog.
yeah, okay. Maupay na udto and
Maupay na gabi.
maupay na, is it gabi?
Aba, gabi.
Ah, gabi. Okay, maupay na gabi. Maupay na aga sa inyong lahat. Okay, we have maupay na udto, maupay na gabi. Is that
Maupay
all?
na aga, maupay na udto, maupay
Mm.
na kulok.
Kulop. What's
And
that? Kulop?
opo, kulok is for afternoon po.
Okay, kulop. Okay. Thank you.
And the other one po is if you're going to say good day, you're just going to say maupay na adlaw. Adlaw is for the whole day,
The
adlaw.
whole day. Okay. Maupay na adlaw.
Opo.
Okay, you have more? How do you say Happy Valentine's Day or Happy Hearts Day?
And and feel free po to ask some words for me to translate po in Mara if you have.
What is it? Oh yeah, you may. Oh yeah, please type. You want them to type in the chat expressions that.
Yes.
Okay, go. Wow. Okay, I like that. You want to be challenged? Okay. Yeah. Okay, please type in the chat. How about maligayang araw ng mga puso? Is that possible, Sir Edmar?
It's pretty difficult po.
It's difficult. Okay.
Um,
But how do
the word
you?
puso po,
Okay, what's the?
the word the word puso po, if you're going to translate that in foreign language, it is kasing-kasing.
Yeah,
Puso,
kasing-kasing.
kasing-kasing.
Puso. But I think you have different translation for puso and pag-ibig and right. I think yeah different. Am I right? Okay.
And the word pag-ibig po is if we're going to translate that in Mara, it would go paghigugma.
Yeah. See,
Paghigugma.
mahigugma. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
So if you're
That's
going to say
familiar
I
too.
love you, it goes higugmaon ko ikaw. I
Okay.
love you. Higugmaon ko.
Higugma ko ikaw. Okay. Is that right? Okay. How about the others? You challenge Sir Ed. Please type in the chat expressions or sentences you'd like him to interpret in his language. Again, if it's translation, it's in your written, right? Written form. If it's in speech, it's interpretation. That's why in the beauty pageant, right, you call them interpreters and not translators. Is that clear? Okay. That's just additional info about translation. Okay, another. How about nagugutom ako, Sir Ed?
Same translation ng ma'am is
Oh,
nagugutom ako.
okay. Same. Okay. Paano sabihin sa waray, ang ganda ko by Ma'am Mika?
Ang ganda ko, mahusay ako.
Oh, okay. Okay. Mahusay. How about yung mahusay?
Mahusay.
Or magaling? Right? Because we have mahusay as magaling in, right? In Tagalog. If ang ganda ko or maganda ako, mahusay ako, what's mahusay ako? I mean, magaling ako.
Um, somehow maupay din po.
Maupay. Okay. Maupay ako. Okay. Mahusay. Si Ma'am Danica. Yeah. Okay, how about the susuka pero di susuko?
Masuka pero diri maudong.
Again, masuka pero hindi rin.
Masuka pero diri maudong.
Di rin ma.
Diri
So,
maudong.
diri maudong.
Opo, diri
Okay.
maudong.
Diri maudong. Thank you. Mahusay ka rin po. Sige, magbolahan tayo. Paano ba yan? Binobola mo lang ako. Ayan, Sir Ed. How is that? How do you...
Opo.
Tinuyang mo lang ako. Ika. Okay, more? How about that? Oh, susuka pero di susuko. Ay, sorry. We're done with that. More? Teachers, don't be shy to Sir Ed. How about magbalik tanaw tayo, Sir Ed?
Um, balikan natin.
Okay. So,
Balikan natin.
relevant, right? Okay, related context. Balikan na ako. Okay. Ano po sa waray yung ako na lang piliin mo? Okay. Very hearts month, ha? Okay. Sir
In
Ed.
Waray,
Mhm.
I am going to say that I will choose ako nagadlait pili
Ak-
Ako
slowly, please,
nagadla.
slowly.
Ako nagadla
Nagadla.
pili
Again, the last part. Sorry. Ako nagadla. You may also type so they can copy it and maybe they'd like to tweet it later.
Ako
Ako.
nagadla pili pili
It, okay. Oh, did you get that, Ma'am Andrea? I don't know if you're saying that to Sir Ed. Just kidding. Okay. Others? Mhm. Yeah, don't be shy. Type that. Type your statements there. How about this? Naligo ka na ba?
um naligo ka na ba? Pinarigo ka na?
Pinaligo?
Pinarigo po
Ah,
R
okay, R.
pinarigo.
Okay. Pinarigo ka na? Hmm. Wow, nagets po. Iti-tweet ko po eh. See, I told you. Sana all naliligo. Oh, pa-interpret, Sir Ed. Sana all, sana lahat naliligo.
Sana all naliligo. Kunta sahid na parigo.
Kuntasahe na
Kunta
parigo.
sahid
Okay. So
na parigo.
normally for the L words, right, you transpose it to R. Right? You transpose the L to R. Okay. Thank you. Na parigo. I don't think I suit your place because I have rota problem. I can't have the rolling R, so I might sound funny in your place because I can't do that. Rigo. See? It's disturbing, right? So don't mind it. Okay, how about Sir John? You have a statement to interpret? Mhm. Oh, what else? Anyone in the chat? You may type. How about
So I
this?
will,
Okay. One more.
okay po ma'am.
Okay. Handa na akong maging guro. How is that?
Ah, preparado na ako
Mm, okay.
maging teacher.
Okay.
Preparado na ako maging teacher.
Correct. Yeah. Preparado. So, preparation, handa. Okay, same, right? Okay, still with relevant context. That's what you're going to observe, right, with other native languages that we have, the same context, same content. However, to some words, they're really, the opposite of what we mean in Tagalog and what they mean in their native language. Sir Ed, your conclusion?
So ayun lang po.
Sorry, there's one more. Okay? Anong ulam? Sana masarap ang ulam natin. Anong
Um,
ulam, Sir Ed?
anong ulam? Ano iti yung sura? Ulam
Sura.
sura. Opo, sura.
Okay. So again it's not that our Tagalog meaning of sura, right? Or nakakasura, it's different.
Okay.
Have you heard about that, Sir Ed? Nakakasura? It's like you're being annoyed or nakakasuka like that. But in this case, it's ulam. Okay. Thank you. So your conclusion now, sir?
Ayun lang po. I'm grateful po na I was able to share with you some phrases. But, sana po natutunan nyo yung different greetings of the day in case na may nakasalubong po tayong waray na tao.
Yes. Maupay
Maupay na
na
aga,
aga.
maupay
Yan.
punto.
How about maraming salamat?
Damo nga salamat. Damo nga salamat.
Damo. Marami, damo. Okay. Damo. Again, what's the next?
Damo
Damo.
nga salamat.
Damo nga salamat. Damo nga salamat, Ginoong Ed. Okay, can we give, yeah, thank you. Can we give clap reaction and wow reaction to Sir Ed? Okay, thank you so much, right? That is a presentation, right? I mean, presentation is not only limited to your visual presentation. You are also, I mean, to PowerPoint or anything, you're also a visual presentation. Thank you again. How about the others? No more? Or maybe we can have you some other time? Okay, thank you again. So now, so since we learned waray today, again, uh, maupay na aga, right? Sa inyong lahat. So thank you for your participation. Thank you, Sir Ed, for that. So we'll have our last installment. Okay, what was the, just to have a recall as well, what was the last assessment activity that I asked you that actually include, the breakout session, looking at and assessing or analyzing the DepEd curriculum guide? What was that? What did I ask you to accomplish as a group last time? With my guidance, that we did that during our virtual or Zoom conference. Anyone? Answer in the chat. Yes, or
Lesson
me?
plan.
Correct. Yeah, lesson plan,
Lesson
but
plan.
yeah, correct. Semi-detailed lesson plan to be precise. Ma'am Mitch, correct. So thank you, Sir Ming. You are right. And as I think I've noted there, right, that that's simply a preparation also for this last topic, right, that we will dig deeper into lesson planning. In that case, I told you it's okay to still, commit mistakes and lapses. If you remember, we even checked that, right, on the dot in front of you, right, live, we checked it, especially the way you're going to check your objectives to your learning experiences in the entire lesson plan. So today, right, we'll talk about planning and executing a lesson in the mother tongue. Well, you will not literally execute it because I will not ask you to do live demo teaching, but in the future, right, if I'll be your teacher again, or maybe your other teachers will do that. Just to share with you in my other course, like technology for teaching and learning too, I asked them, that's their final requirement, to do a live demo teaching, an online demo teaching. It can be live, it can be pre-recorded. So in that case, they will be exposed, at least have an experience, first-hand experience with how, right? How do we do this here? How how I do multitasking with all the navigations and features of Zoom, of my presentation, of admitting people, a breakout session, and such. So in the future, just in case, right? You will experience, online or physical. I hope that you will carry this not just information, but actually the competence of, mastering your lesson plan. Okay, so again, we have this distinguished, policy for this, so policy guidelines on daily lesson preparation for the K-12 basic education program according to DAPID order number 42 series of 2016. So it's not simply, a requirement of many teachers or critic teachers for you to create a lesson plan, but this is according to a DAPID order. And it says here, right, in Article 4, Section 2 or the Code of Ethics for professional teachers. Have you had your the teaching profession course? Can you give me like or app? Have you had it? So at least I know. Not yet. Not yet. Okay. So in that course, you will also dig deeper into in or about the code of ethics for professional teachers, right? But in Article 4, it says there every teacher, again, all, it means all, right? All teachers shall uphold the highest standards of quality education. That's why, if you can recall, I've used the term bawal ang mema pa motivation, right? Mema, yung mema, bawal, right? Because we need to uphold the highest standards of quality education. That we will always make the best preparations, and that includes what? Lesson planning for the career of teaching and shall be at your best at all times. Okay, maybe in the future you might also receive this comment from senior teachers that will tell you, bata pa kasi kaya masipag pa pumasok, right? Masipag pa maggawa ng instructional materials, masipag pang maging creative sa activities, hindi, right? I've received those, right? And until now, right? right? I'm praying and hoping. Again, I can't, have my last words on that, but I'm still praying and hoping that I will be as prepared as who am I, right, today, even in the future, even if I get old. Well, in my case, punctuality is already in me. That's why my name is the epitome of being punctual. But in terms of the preparation, being in class, even virtual class, right? If you notice the routinary preliminary activities that we do every time, you may also use and do all of them without even asking for permission from me. Right? I'm giving you the right to use all my strategies, my techniques, right? In my approaches to my students, you may, right? You may adopt them or adapt. That's better, right? Adaptation means modification. So again, you have to make the best preparation. You can't simply say, "Ay, wala na, di naman yan star section. Hindi na ako mag-e-effort, papakopya na lang ako sa board." Right? I hope that we will veer away from the traditional mindset of not giving our best effort to our students. And I believe since many teachers now, I don't know if I can say now majority, but many teachers are right, young, right? Or young teachers. And they're still so excited. They're still, hyped about teaching, and it says here shall be at your best at all times, not just with your preparation but with your right at your best at all times in the practice of your profession, whatever you do as a teacher, as a fellow teacher, right, as a confidant of your student, right, someone they can trust. In that case, we have to always be at our best. So there's no what reason for us to be what mediocre or average, right? Again, just remember my term, not my term. That's not my term. I got it's a millennial term, right? Mema, right? Bawal ang mema in teaching. Bawal ang mema, may mapasang lesson plan sa master teacher, sa head teacher, right? Bawal ang may mapasang grade sheets, for instance, or class records, right? So, bawal din ang manghula, okay? That's a no-no, please, bawal tayong magroleta. Maybe you've heard about that on Twitter, right? That's very famous among PUPians, right? Ay, nagroleta na si ma'am. Kaya lahat kami uno, lahat kami at tres, and so on. So, again, bawal. Okay? We have our bases. That's why we have our class records. It's important that we have their performance or outputs. So, DepEd acknowledges that curriculum preparation is important for effective teaching and learning. Now, just try to imagine that you will not prepare for the class. Not yet about teaching, not yet about lesson planning. For example, you just woke up and you turn on. Oh, okay, I don't mean any negative towards those who just woke up and did not take a bath. But what's the difference of you preparing yourself, right, to attend the class and you not preparing for it? What do you think will happen? Do you think you will still be in the mood to listen? Do you think you will have the not really audacity but initiative to just sit properly, right? Ma'am Rizma, have you had that experience of, I mean, two same situations, but in one situation you did not prepare, in one situation you're prepared. What's the difference about the output, the process of it?
Siguro po if ever na hindi ka prepare sa ano mo, sa pagtuturo mo, mawawalan din po ng gana yung mga student mo na makinig sa'yo, gano'n po.
Correct, exactly. And you know what? Again, well, what I asked you about was, a typical preparation, life preparation, right, or self preparation. But you already directed it to teaching, which is correct and very good, right? But again, you're right, okay? Because students now are smart. They know if you're not prepared. They know if you feel nervous. They know if you're not confident. They know if you don't have mastery of what you're talking about. They know. They can discern. If teachers can discern, right? Your situation right now, what you're feeling right now, based on simply looking at your faces, students can also feel that, can also do that, right? And I've not really just overheard, but it was told by my sister, right, about someone teaching, but she's still a pre-service teacher. But it's obvious that she's very nervous, right? She's not comfortable to speak to the students. Okay, again, I hope, it's my hope because I'm still certain that this will be automatic. The confidence of being a teacher will be automatic if this is really your calling, right? And this will not be, I mean, you will not look like you rehearse literally, like step by step rehearse for everything, right? But if you know that you have the mastery, you know, right, the parts of your preparation, and you are really ready to do it, you can nail it. I'm sure about that. And this policy is also designed to enable you, right, to promote professional teaching practices by affirming the value of curriculum planning. They need to also recognize and appreciate, like prepare si ma'am. So, right, they will also appreciate that, and they will also take initiative to really exert effort, right? Ay, nag-prepare si ma'am sa game, I will participate. Ay, nag-prepare si ma'am ng chocolates or candies, I will participate. Well, not just being after the rewards, but actually because they see the value of curriculum planning, that it's not easy, right? I mean, merely students, sometimes, okay, let's just be real here. Most of the time, mere students, not just, not education students, okay, but mere students, they don't see that. They don't see the laborious, right, and tedious tasks of curriculum planning. Well, designing is a different aspect. Curriculum evaluation is a different aspect. So there are many parts of the cycle, but just merely thinking of the value, right, of how extensive, how tedious the task of curriculum planning is, you will also be able to appreciate it, right? And of course, that's through preparation of your daily lesson plan or daily lesson log. So again, that's the good news for you, new generation of teachers, that you have now daily the option of daily lesson log, where you have a matrix, and then you will simply log all the activities there, objective, getting all of them from curriculum, IDEP and CG, and just getting all the pages from the book. Sorry, Sir Mark, you have concern?
Ah, um, na curious lang po ako.
Sure, go.
Kasi po do'n sa lesson plan po ba, meron po bang kung kayo po, may ini-include po ba kayong parang attitude niyo towards your students?
If it's there, if
Opo.
it's written, okay, we have what we call, I think I've mentioned this before, we have what we call hidden curriculum. Okay, we have what we call hidden curriculum. If maybe fourth year, you will have that course about curriculum, the teacher in the school curriculum. But to preempt, to give you an idea, hidden curriculum is one type of curriculum where it's not written, it's not initiated, right? It's not recommended, but it's there, right? For example, your attitude, the values that you integrate. I mean, for elementary, right? To some LPs, they include values integration. They have that, right? But generally, when you teach, when you start executing your lesson, right, it comes naturally. It comes naturally because you're a teacher, right? You uphold the high moral values. That's why it comes natural. Your attitude towards it, you don't need to write it. It comes there, and it makes you distinct among other teachers, right? Because you have, for example, right? You, for example, memorism, Sir Ming, Sir Mark. You're all teaching the same subject, same lesson, same competencies, same activities. Maybe, right? You're also recommended to do only one activity, but you are three different teachers, right? That means your students will still have different experiences with you because you have different approaches, right? You have different, strategies and techniques and how you will execute. That's why the execution part is a different story apart from planning. You may have the same experience in planning, but in terms of the execution, right, a modification will happen. Not might happen, but will happen when you are already there, right? That's why last time I also told you that, for example, you not yet teaching in the real field, but I mean teaching in the field, but not yet as a teacher. I mean, not yet as a licensed teacher, but you are still the pre-service teacher, for example. I told you before that you will be faced with more than five, okay, maximum or minimum five sections, same grade level. Well, that's a best case scenario, uh, same levels. And right, okay, you are not what's her name? Yeah, you have to prepare yourself, right, in that situation. Again, I told you before, I handled seven. I was a pre-service teacher back then, just a pre-student teacher. Seven sections. I handled seven sections of grade seven. Just imagine, right, how naughty these kids were that time because it's the transition from grade six to grade seven. And with your first experience with the first class, that will not be the same experience or expectation, right, that you will be getting from the next class until the last class, right? That's why you will have reflective teaching. That is part reflective teaching. You will realize that, oh, I forgot to say this in the first class, or I forgot to do this in the last class, and right, and that's normal, teachers. That's normal. You don't need to feel guilty about it, but you may go back if you like. For example, the next time you'll meet them, okay, I think I forgot to tell you this, and then you tell them, or you let them experience it if that's an activity. Okay, I hope that helps. I know you're still first year, but it's a good thing that you realize these things as early as now, given that this is a crucial season in the education field. Okay, thank you, Sir Mark. Okay, we have one more question here. Can I do po na magbibigay po ng example na taliwas sa tamang sagot to really know that the students are listening? Like for instance, math. Okay. If you are testing teachers, that's your technique or your style, right? They tend to, but make sure there will be correction immediately afterwards, right? Why? Because teachers have done that just to make sure you're listening, or to some, I've done it before, and then someone gave a correction or at least just clarification about something, and then I told them, oh, I'm just checking if you're listening. So in that case, it can really be real that you're just checking, right? You plan for it, or you turn it, you also notice it, and then you realize, oh, I will just say that, okay, that I'm just checking if you're listening. So again, that's yourself. So your example is math, a math problem. Kapag nag-react ang student na mali, it means they really understand the lesson. Effective po ba ang ganitong style? Okay, in your case, if you're, because you only have one purpose there, to check, right, if they're listening. That's your purpose. But, okay, but they need to also see, right? I mean, yes, you can perform it well. You can show them that it's very genuine, that you didn't know it's incorrect, right? In that case, maybe one time, right? But again, last time I shared with you something about the hand gesture, right? So you don't need to shout if your only purpose is to check if they're listening. There are many ways to check if they're listening. You can even get their attention, right? Because there are kids, right? There are kids or students who will, because I'm saying this from my experience as a student, okay? I had moments before in college where I was intently staring, looking at my teacher, and even nodding. But literally, to be honest, to tell you this, to confess, I wasn't getting anything. It was so funny in my experience. Seriously, and she didn't realize that. So in your a suggestion, okay, test your students, right? Sometimes because you thought, right, the nature of the student, if they don't know the answer, they don't want to listen, is they will look away, right? But you know what? I have my own strategy when I was a student. I will look at my professor straight in the eye, but he will not know that I wasn't listening. So in that case, there are many barriers, internal, external barriers that might arise there. Okay? Ma'am, pwede po mag-share. Sure. Okay, Ma'am Rizma, go.
Ma'am, kasi po yung sinabi niyo po na ano, dun sa iba't ibang section, iba-iba po yung approach nila. Naalala ko po dati nung ano, 'di ba po ano, every Teachers Month, nagkakandak po ng ng program about dun sa yung per teacher may pipiliing student counterpart na sila yung magtuturo, ganun po.
Oh, okay.
Tapos po napili po kami nung kaibigan ko na magturo. So, ano po, meron po kaming hahawakan na 7 sections. Tapos dun po sa first period namin sa isang section, di nagturo na po kami. Siyempre po, first time po, medyo kabado po. Tapos, yung pinipare namin na activities, hindi po yun yung pina-activity nung pinaka-teacher namin. Tapos, ang ginawa niya po, pinakuha niya po ng 1/4 yung mga student na tinuruan namin. Tapos sinabi niya po doon na ilist daw po doon yung mga napansin sa amin, yung mga
Yeah.
negative and positive. Tapos bago po kami pumunta doon sa second period, pina-check niya po yun sa'min tapos kung alin daw po yung mga negative dun, iwasan daw po namin. Tas yung positive po, yun naman po yung mas enhance namin para po sa second period, much better na po yung pagtuturo. Yun lang po. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's correct. That's actually a practice, right? Special. I mean, in my experience, I still have them during my practice teaching. I kept all of them. I kept all the papers, right? That's a must, and that's a practice, just like what I said. That's been a practice in public schools for pre-service teachers, if right by critic. Not even if the critic teacher will not tell you that you can do it, right, with the students in class. Even though not your last day, maybe for example you'd like to compare, right, your improvement on your first day of pre-service teaching or demo teaching, and then the last day. So you may ask them, at least get ask them to get one for sheet of paper, and then right, and then write notes or observations that they notice. Most of the time, okay, based on my students, teacher students, experiences and testimonies as well. They've told me that through those, through those evaluation feedbacks, they really learn, or they really accepted that teaching is their calling, right? So most of the time, students are very sweet and very caring towards pre-service teachers, to the point that they become best friends, and right, in long term. And you know what, exposing yourself to actual students in the future, I mean, as pre-service teacher, will definitely like let you realize that this is your calling, and that you really would like to do this for the rest of your life, right? So of course there's retirement period, but I'm talking about long term, right, years of teaching. So yeah, thank you, Memorisma, for sharing. That will do. You know what? Even in the classroom, for example, you will have presentation, demo teaching. Right now, in college, or you will have reporting, as they call it, right? You may ask for feedback. It's not, in my case, I usually do that from not from, but to my students whenever they present, because I have a evaluation form that includes physical appearance, master of the content, presentation skills, quality of instructional materials, handouts, and lesson plan or written report. Because I don't anymore ask for a written report, I ask for a lesson plan, so it's they can train themselves in the preparation of lesson. And in that case, yeah, students are, I'm giving them grade, at the same time their classmates also give them grade, so 50-50. And at the same time, assessment or verbal feedback is also important, so they know exactly what to improve and what not to continue doing. Okay, we have here uh, another message in the chat. Ma'am, nag-assess po ba kayo like for a few days, tapos chine-check niyo po paano dapat approach sa isang section? Sorry. Na-observe ko po nung high school ako, mga teacher na mabait few days, tapos biglang nag-iba. Well, okay, the feedback should be coming from you. So tell me, right? Did I change from the very beginning? I mean, in terms of my approach, like personal approach towards you, I think I sustain it, right? And because I've learned a lot from my previous experiences, that just giving your poker face on the very beginning, at the very beginning of the class, definitely definitely affects their mood, right? I think I've shared that. I don't want to reiterate that story, but it's so important that upon greeting them, like, good morning, teachers, like, you need to smile. That affects them so much, right? If they will say good morning, right, or good morning, class, right, they will really feel, ay, bad trip yata si ma'am, ay, beast mode yata si ma'am. So because I've received that comment before, I wasn't really that mad, I wasn't just in the mood to smile, but they give me the comment, ma'am, kasi po beast mode ka, huh? I didn't realize I was in beast mode. So mas naging friendly. Thank you. Yeah, and because every night, to tell you, maybe I miss some nights, but most of the nights, I check my Twitter, and I check because I follow my students. So if you follow me, I'll follow you back because I would like to monitor them, right? At least by replying or by sending them DMs if they tweet, with a negative mindset, with a troubling mindset. So in that way through Twitter, because I know Twitter is, it's like your door now, right? To the point that you don't really express yourself on Facebook, but you did express everything that's happening to you in Twitter. So in that case, I monitor them. I am also been aware, right? I've also been aware of what you're feeling at the moment, right? What's the effect of the online class towards you? And I also follow topics there about education, online class, online teaching and learning. And in that way, of course, I need to not adopt, but adapt to the changes. I need to adapt to how should I treat you, because we are again not in a normal setup. So thank you, ma'am, Nika, for that. So yeah, in that case, I do assess, because again, every class. This is one best thing. I wouldn't say good, but this is not. This is one best thing of being a teacher. That every class is a unique class. Every class will give you a different experience, a new experience, right? That's why if you don't like, or yeah, if you don't like a routinary job, you will just sit there and just do the same thing over and over, right? No striking event that will happen on one day, right? Go for teaching, right? Because this is not a routinary work, or you will say life, right? Again, if you love what you do, you will not consider it a work, right, in your life. So in that case, it's important for self-assessment, right? Not just student assessment or teacher assessment, but for self-assessment to happen. And again, that's a trend in most of the activities provided and initiated and recommended by DepEd. So the policy, going back, thank you for your insights and questions. So the policy ultimately aims to assist you teachers in not only managing your instruction effectively, but also in managing the performance of one of your core function, which is to facilitate learning in the classroom. Given that we have veered away from traditional setting of spoon feeding, right? We are now called to be facilitators of learning. So in that case, don't worry, it's not always a literal meaning of just being there, right? I mean, you are still there, you are still needed. That's why you facilitate, you guide them, right? You check their process and how they're doing in the activity, and so on. It's not, it doesn't mean I'm a facilitator, you do what you want, right? I'm just a teacher there, do what you want. It's not that. You are there to guide them, to give them instructions, right? To even assist them if they're having a hard time to accomplish one task. So this depth order sets out instructions for the planning of regular lessons by daily lesson plan or a daily lesson log that teachers from K to 12. So it was often established in partnership with teachers and community administrators. You know what? Even from the vision mission of the school, right? We need the stakeholders. We need the community administrators to ensure that those impacted by the program can be contacted. If you can recall, I've shared this with you that, right, if and only if I am certain we have educators, I mean teachers, literally teachers or implementers in in depth ed, right? Because if they are not teaching and they're the ones planning our curriculum, right, and simply benchmarking from different nations, right, it will be hard. It will really be hard to be implemented in our education system, right? That's why we have a smaller type of curriculum, which is lesson plan. That is where we can modify, right, to the best interest of our learners. Right? It doesn't mean, effectiveness of private school, sa section 1. I will use it in section 5. Well, in our case now, it's heterogeneous, so it's a good thing. Right? Unlike before, section 1, lahat doon nagsama-sama, right? But in our case, a mix now mix students in different classrooms. So this is one good thing that I am seeing in K to 12 program. So yeah, in that case, right, we need stakeholders, we need the actual teachers to really share their experiences. Even in the university, you know what, they even conduct surveys from students, from teachers to know what are you clamoring about. That's why we even have now the office for students' concerns, right? So you may also seek help from that office. Why? Because we need to know. We need to know if there is a problematic teacher, In that case, right? It's okay to report. Just put them into writing, so everything's formal and everything's legal, right? Don't tweet them. You know what? Um, Being on Twitter and monitoring my students for years now, sadly, you know, I've read tweets about even my fellow teachers or other teachers, cursing them and saying bad things about them, and it hurts me because I'm also a teacher, and you will also become teachers, and if you don't like, right? It's even the golden rule. If you don't like this to happen to you, don't do this to others. I know it's you have your freedom to express what you want to express on social media, and you will even give me the reason or the excuse that it's my account. I can say whatever I want. Yes, but we have to uh, think, right, before we type, before we click, before we hit post, right? Is it true? Is it helpful? Right? Right? Is it kind? So you have to consider things like those. Okay? So let's go now to instructional planning. So it is the process of determining what learning opportunities students in school will have by planning the content of instruction. Again, one most challenging part in lesson planning is what? Making your thinking of your motivation. Again, because as I told you, bawal ang mema pa motivation. Okay? But in that case, you have to really think what can also be used as springboard, not just to energize them, but make sure you can even use these motivational activities as springboard when you now discuss your lesson. So you can go back from time to time to your motivational activity, game, question, whatever that is. Right? So also selecting teaching materials. This one is also crucial in lesson planning or lesson preparation because not all materials are available in the environment, right, of the kids. So you have to consider, hindi available ang pizza kapag pie graph lesson ako. So what isn't available? This is where contextualization, localization, and indigenization of instructional materials enter. Right? So, in that case, you have to consider, meron silang biko na kakanin or, right, na nasa bilao, so you may use that, right, and, other things. So, in that case,
Alert from
in
System
that
UI
case, you may
server. Low
also
battery.
seek help even from fellow teachers to collaborate if you need more, money, effort, right, to prepare or select your teaching materials. In selecting your teaching materials, you also need to consider the age, right, appropriateness of your materials. Right? Is this applicable to grade one? Right? Even your example, you know what? I've learned something about one real experience of a kindergarten student. Actually, he's my cousin. And his sister told me that the teacher actually made use of Korean songs, K-pop songs, which are definitely, I mean, the contents are for adults. And I don't think it's appropriate just because, and I thought the teacher, uses the songs because she's part of the generation now, but based on what I learned, she's a senior teacher, like, an old teacher. And maybe she was just thinking that, just maybe, okay, this is my hypothesis, right? Maybe she was just thinking of this is what's trend, this is what's new, this is what the kids listen to. So I will use them. Again, we have to review. When we select our teaching materials, we have to review them, right? I remember I taught fourth year college, so these are mature students with mature minds, right? And this is for literature's sake, right? For literary sake. I let them watch a film, Director's Cut. You know what happens in Director's Cut. And in that case, I let them watch that because they will also analyze or, write a movie review about it. Okay, and it's based on a literary piece, word literature, and right, of course, I need to review everything, and I need to give disclaimer. You can give disclaimer before letting them watch anything or listen to anything, right? So at least they know that you reviewed it. And I think I've also mentioned to you that some teachers just start watching the video without even watching it first, okay, or They watch it together with the students at the first time. And you don't want to be surprised. Oh my goodness, meron palang ganun dyan. Right? You don't want that to happen to you. You don't want to be in that situation. So I suggest review everything. Okay? Make sure it's age appropriate, right? Make sure also that you have available resources, right? For that, for example, LCD projector ako ngayon, magla-laptop ako. Wala pala kayong power of electricity. Right? So, paano mo siya gagamitin? Right? Or ang mahal mag-rent ng LCD projector sa PUP, 100, 150 per hour. Right? I will just use what? Share it. I will share it, the PowerPoint presentation, and, right, they can use their phones, right, in that case. So, case-to-case basis. Right? It depends on the learners, on what level they are at the moment. Next, designing the learning activities and grouping methods. So even your learning activities, again, make sure they are congruent to your objectives, they are attainable, right? They are also time bound because again, in public school, you have very limited time. In my experience, since I um, started teaching college immediately after graduation, I'm used to 3 hours to 4 hours. So, nabibitin pa ako sa 3 hours. Okay? And in your case, in the teaching field, you will only be given 45 minutes, 1 hour. So, paano pa kayo? Di mas bitin kayo, right? So, that's why in schools now, in public schools, they implement and impose weekly lesson plan or the lesson log. So, it's weekly. So, for example, discussion Monday, activities until Friday. So it depends on the setup of your school because still you have your own formatting, right? Uh, you have your own demands from your head teachers or principal. Okay, next, deciding on the pacing and allocation of instructional time. Again, time management is really important. So the ideal usually for motivation is maximum 5 minutes, but that's actually too much. Well, it depends, right? If that will merely be, well, still related, but if that will merely be to energize or to motivate or to wake your students up, right? But if you can also use your motivation as springboard, I can say that you can extend your time with that, right? I can still remember I talked about collocation. I think that's, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's my final demo teaching topic when I was in fourth year college. And I taught at Mayamot National High School here at in Antipolo because it's very near our place there in Marikina. And I've used my examples in the motivation part, in the game part, in the discussion. So that's possible to save time as well at the same time, right? So they will realize, ay, connected pala yun. Akala ko nagsagot-sagot lang ako sa motivation. So you may also use that as springboard. That's why you call it springboard. Okay, so to continue, structure and planning with content and performance standards and learning competencies firmly articulated in the K-12 curriculum, it is easier for teachers to carry out both short-term and long-term instructional planning because you have your content and performance standards. Later, I'll show you example, or maybe you've seen examples online of lesson plan with specified content standards, performance standards, learning competencies. You've seen them, right, in the DEP and CG. So it will be easier for you now. You have easy life now, new generation teachers. Okay, I always tell you that. Unlike before, isip pa kami, anong verb ba? Kay Bloom ang gagamitin namin. Puro lots naman. Paano yung hots and so on. In our case now, easier, right? Well, the challenge is, of course, for you to be creative with your activities. Okay? Instructional planning also increases a teacher's chance of carrying out a lesson successfully. Again, if you plan, right, accordingly, if you plan everything. That's why I even suggested, right, if you remember, that when you prepare your materials, because you have materials part there in the lesson plan, make it a checklist, right? So you will not forget anything because most of the time, teachers just write their general materials like laptop, LCD projector, PowerPoint, just that. How about the materials that you'll be using in or third party apps, for example, online class, in group activities, individual guided tasks, evaluation or quiz. So you have to start planning, right? Plan well, so it will increase your chance to execute it well, successfully. That's the idea, right? Another, it allows teachers to be more confident before starting a lesson because you know you planned for it, right? Again, I asked you a question earlier, right? What would you feel if you didn't prepare for something, right? Or for example, you have surprise graded recitation or surprise quiz, right? And even for teachers, for instance, you will have surprise class observation and you didn't plan for it. Do you think you'll be confident about it? Well, to some competent teachers, they're already confident, but still, there will be a hint of nervousness there. Right? Another inculcates reflective practice as it allows teachers to think about their teaching. Again, going back to my example of teaching different sections with the same topic, right? And then you have to reflect even after your first class, right? Meron ba akong hindi nasabi? So I need to say it in the next class. Meron ba akong hindi napagawa, hindi nagawa, right? Meron ba akong hindi napansin na bata, right? Meron ba akong hindi na-acknowledge or hindi nabigyan ng appropriate feedback, right? Sinabi ko lang okay, or worst case, hindi ko pinansin. Right? You snob it. You turn to the other student. Again, giving appropriate feedback is very beneficial and important for the students. Another, instructional planning facilitates learning and respond to learners' needs inside the classroom. Well, with the help of your learning activities, experiences, assessments, evaluation, until homework, right? Planning actually helps you facilitate well all of their needs and of course to achieve the objectives. Another, instructional planning helps teachers relearn what they need to teach. This is 100%. I totally agree with this. Okay? You won't expect all courses in college, definitely profit courses, will be or gen ed courses will be beneficial, right? Or will be, well, for you, right? Will be worthy of enrolling for a SEM, right? You will come to a point after graduation, wala naman akong natutunan dun sa isang course. Ay, isa lang ginawa namin sa isang course, right? Based on my experience, this happened to me, right? I really didn't fully learn a lot from that course, but when I started teaching it, then I get to relearn about it, right? I get to relearn about it because I plan, right? I plan everything and I know now, right, how to master it. I know now what to focus on, which was not given emphasis before when I was in college. So that's also a good thing. And you know what? It's important that you started teaching first before you take the let. That's just my suggestion. Why? Because there are topics that you will be teaching that will appear, definitely will appear in the licensure examination. Okay, that happened to me. I was teaching Philippine literature that time, and I can't recall that from learning it from my Philippine literature course in college. But since I taught it, it appeared in the exam, and I thank God. So, Lord, thank you. I know about this because I teach it. So that's one thing. Okay, another helps teachers master learning area content and sense of ownership. So I combine these two because they are related, right? You will have the mastery of your learning content or the area if you plan for it. If you plan from beginning to end, even your examples. But again, I highly don't suggest the detail na. But if that's needed in your school, then go. But for example, if that would just be or the requirement for me or your requirement for me. That's why last time I told you to create a semi-detailed lesson plan. I don't want you to make it a script, okay? Because you will always aim for the best. You will always expect for the right student's response, right? A good day, a good day, students. Hi, ma'am, and then yes, always with answers. What about the worst case scenarios, right? That no student will respond to you. So what would you do? You wouldn't force them. You say yes. You don't say that, right? Because they don't know. Why would you expect them, right? In this case, again, if you plan, you have the mastery until examples, right? In your planning, it's better to also include, the unexpected. Think of the unexpected questions, right? I think I don't know if I've told you this, but every time I will ask my students, because normally I challenge my students to ask me questions, which you've been doing. But for instance, in a face-to-face class or even in the online class, I will challenge them. It's not all the time the teachers challenge, teachers challenge you to ask questions just because he's very confident that he knows everything. Okay, you know what I do, what my technique there, or my not really technique, but what I usually do. Okay, while you are, of course, I challenge you, so that means I'm also challenged to answer your question. And it's not that I always have the answer, but what I do, I will ask you, okay, you ask me a question, and then while you are asked, I already shared this, I revealed this secret to my students that when I ask them to ask question, while they're thinking of their question, I started praying. I pray, Lord, give me the answer to my student's question, right? Because of course, I will not invent any of the answer. And thankfully, so far, right, for 6 years or 7 years of teaching, I was able to give them the answers, right? And yeah, I prayed to God, Lord, give me the answer, because, right? I mean, who am I to challenge you to ask me questions if I'm not prepared to answer it? So I pray. That's what I do. Okay, instructional planning also helps you to identify expectations for learners, because again, you have your objectives there, right? You don't need to, in a snap, ito na lang, gawin nila, right? No, you plan for it. Those are your objectives. Stick to your objectives, right? Choose the materials and organize the sequential activities. Hindi yung, ito na lang una, ito na lang, right? So, we have to really be organized in that aspect that sabi mo, gagawin mo to sa motivation. Yung ginawa mo sa quiz, wait, right? Paano yon? So, you have to follow also the order. Well, we have unexpected scenarios as well in life, right? So your flexibility. Later we'll talk about flexibility. Okay, flexibility will be very helpful in this aspect too. So there are 3 steps, right? Instructional planning. We have planning the instruction, right? The things that, in the semi-detailed lesson plan, the teacher asks the students, the teacher instruct the teacher. Those are in the instructions that you'll be doing. Delivery of instruction. How will you deliver them? Right? Make sure that you give them precise instruction. Okay. Last time, because again, I've been facilitating demo live demo teaching of my students in TTL2 course, and one task in the group activity was ilarawan, right? Because he's Filipino major, and he says there, ilarawan um, ang karakter sa kwento. So, at the end, during our post-con, I asked them, paano ilalarawan? Would that be, because there are many ways to illustrate, right? Is it through words? Through Venn diagram? Because you're asking them to compare? Right? So, you have to be very clear. Right? Kahit nga clear na, di ba? Hindi pa rin malinaw sa bata. O, maglabas ng 1/4. Ma'am, 1/4? Right? So, you just said it and they will repeat it. Or, maglabas ng uh, yellow paper. What's that? What's that? What do you call this? Crosswise or lengthwise, ma'am. So, you have to be specific with your instructions. Ma'am, ano pong gusto nyong makita? That is where you always present your rubric. Okay? Gusto ko malinis. Right? Yung isa akala niya, creativity means makulay, may bulaklak, sunog yung gilid, amoy kape. No, okay? So, that's not, okay? I mean, creativity is also being original. You create something new. But that is why you have your rubric. That is not anymore the trend. Right? Neatness is the trend now. Formality. Well, it depends. If that's art class, right? Well, be artistic. Okay, next, assessment of learning. Your assessment activities from individual guided to group differentiated tasks to evaluation. So all of these things. Okay, I've read this post. I mean, a tweet post, and that gave me actually, you know, more realization to not really give you midterm and final exam. Okay? Given that I'm also a supporter of HOTS, higher order thinking skills, guys, okay, the teachers, right? The analyzing, evaluating, and creating level. I've read the tweet post, right? It doesn't mean that you don't have, midterm and final exam that normally, right, focus on what? Exams that focus on lots, right? Remembering level, and that's not anymore, right? What should be targeting? Okay, so in that case, all these assessments, right? All the assessment activities I've given you, right? They're enough for me to assess your reading skills, your writing skills, your speaking skills. If there's a time that I even ask you to, film a video, viewing skills and such. So, or watch a TED talk, right? So in that case, the way we're talking, the way you're even talking to me or reciting, share your insights through chat, through microphone on, right? That is where you can also do your assessment. Okay, so don't feel bad. Ay, ma'am, wala, right? To some, again, that's only one thing. And another thing is because I also consider our difficult situation at the moment. So there are many ways to assess. Okay, and verbal feedback, non-verbal feedback, numerical feedback, right? Graded. So this means that instruction begins even before a teacher steps in front of a class and begins a lesson. Right? That is now the execution. But planning happens before you step right into your class. And there will be instances, right? Ma'am, what if? Right? Because this will happen. Or should I say this might happen? Or let's say this will happen. Because this happened to my students as well. As pre-service teachers, right? On the first day, not of Christmas, but on the first day of class, of observation, you thought you will be given time to observe, right? Kasi ma'am, observe muna daw eh. Right? But then you were surprised. On the first day, you were introduced to the teacher, and your critic teacher told your cooperating teacher in a good sense or good term, right? Told you, Sir Ming, magturo ka na. Ma'am, wala akong preparation. Right? Turo mo to, itong lesson na to. Right? And that happens. So brace yourself, right? Even though we've been talking about instructional planning, how about your immediate, right? In a snap, sometimes 5 minutes before the class starts, right? Pinagturo ka na and you're not prepared, you're caught off guard, right? Believe your mastery, right? You still, because those are gen ed subjects. So definitely you have idea, you can do it, right? You have to trust your mastery and things or competencies that you have gained from the college classroom. Okay, so in that case, this means that teachers are expected to be able to organize and develop your plan for teaching, implement your plan, of course, when you start teaching it live, and measure how effectively they implemented a plan. So, lesson planning is one way of planning instruction. It is also a way of visualizing a lesson before it is taught, right? Kasi nakita mo na this is how I expect it to be. But again, if worst case happen, you are also ready for plan B. That's why I also tell my students, education students, we don't stick to plan A. Okay, we have plans A to Z. I think I've said this before countless times, right? We have plans A to Z, letter Z, meaning there's no excuse. Plan B didn't work. You have plan C. Plan C didn't work. Plan D. On let me give you a real examples. I mean, real examples. Ngayon po sa pag-apply on the spot pong binibigay yung topic na itinuturo mo sa klase. Yeah, that happens too, right? Maybe when you apply for a job, you prepare for it. That happened to me. When I applied at PUP, I prepared. What was my topic then? I think it's speech communication. Yeah, something like that. Types of speech. Okay, and then the interviewers, right, the evaluators told me, "Do you think why would we ask you to teach something you prepared for?" I was shocked. Okay, ma'am. So I was given two scenarios. I'm not saying this is the way they will interview you, right? Or check you or evaluate you rather. But this what happened to me. They gave me two situations. Okay, imagine that this is your first day of class. Oh, I was even given time like 5 minutes. It's just a pantry in the office, and then I went outside the pantry, and then it's like role play like that, a very short skit. That's kind of action. Okay, first day of class. So of course, first day of class, you don't discuss a topic, huh? You introduce yourself. Right? That's what we did. If you can recall, right? We have asked question and answer portion with me. I get to know you. You have to get to know your learners first, right? That's important. And you establish the house rules. You talk about the lesson or the course syllabus, which we did, right? So those are things that you need to do. Do not discuss on the first day, okay? That's a no-no. And the second situation was, okay, this is the time now that you right? That you will discuss something. So, for example, second day, third day of class. Okay, and yeah, and I even because you were nervous, and of course you respect your evaluators, and because you know them, one of them was my former teacher, and he's now my fellow teacher in the College of Education now, and he was using his phone that time. I was very strict. I told him, keep your phone. Okay, you have to. I did that. That's my teacher. That was my teacher. And because I have to assume that they're my students. Okay, I have to assume that they're my students and not my evaluators. So thank God I passed it. I want to say with flying colors because still there are aspects there that need to be improved because again that I was a fresh grad and that was my first experience to really do at least live demo. So you're right? When you said that during job application, right? Usually on the spot, so you have to prepare. You can also prepare something, right? So at least sometimes they don't do that. Sometimes they give you chance. Okay, present what you or teach what you have prepared for us. But and I think the next scenario is okay. Teach this, right? Something that you didn't prepare for. Okay. Oh, sorry. So lesson planning also entails prediction, anticipation, sequencing, and simplifying. So again, that was by Scrivener, if I pronounce his name right. So again, I also mentioned this before, right? You have to anticipate the worst case scenario that might happen, right? I think I've shared with you something. Okay. Before I share something, let me read from your classmates' chat. Ma'am, I just want to share po, during senior high school, we had a mock interview sa work immersion. I did this in my work immersion now. I have a course, work immersion. And I decided to apply as secondary teacher. Akala ko po interview lang yung mangyari po. Pero bigla po akong pinag-demo na interviewer without any IM. Buti na lang po, may dala akong chalk. Wow, that's fast. And I did demo teaching for 5 minutes as if I'm in front of the classroom. Oh, congratulations, right? So meaning that also gave you really the calling. I can since I can nail it in a work immersion mock job interview, right? That's why you enter the College of Education. So good decision. That's a great decision. And you have what students in front. So right. I assume right you're able to nail it, ma'am. Right. And yeah, you have successfully, passed the job interview with the heart react. So I think that's a yes. So congratulations. Okay, so going back, I think I've shared with you one sharing from my student about his teacher who forgot his flash drive. Can you give me like react if I've shared this? So I will not reiterate, or at least just have I? Memories man, not yet. Okay. It happened in one campus because again I started from PUP campuses in Bulacan, and my student who's also the student of that teacher told me, "Ma'am, may share ako." Right? Their teacher arrived in class not prepared, right? And he told the class that he forgot his flash drive. Okay? He forgot his flash drive. And you know what? Since he forgot his flash drive, he asked the students to do something else, not relevant. That's according to the testimony of my student. Not, ma'am, hindi po related sa topic namin. You know the logic questions, right? Oh, you've seen the logic statements with sometimes simple questions. Simple answers rather. And they did that. Okay, so again, that's a no-no, teachers. Huh? Again, your mastery is not in a flash drive. It's in your brain. It's in you. You have the confidence. You know your topic. You should have the mastery of it. That's why mastery of the subject matter is one of the categories or criteria in the faculty evaluation. Okay? So it's a no-no. That's only supplemental. That's only aid. That's why we call one visual aid. Right? To aid you, to help you. But that's not the main source. The flash drive is not the teacher. Right? It's us. It's us the teachers. So or some teachers, maybe you've been a victim of this, right? Na what's that? She's not prepared. Or of course, you don't know about that she's not prepared, right? Because you're a mere student. Your mindset is just be afraid and then follow and listen. So usually teachers are not prepared and then they will enter the class mad, poker face, frowning face, right? And then, okay, get 1-4, let's have quiz. Mom, quiz agad. Right? So, I'm not saying all teachers who do that are not prepared, okay? But some, I think that is their style. Okay, hindi ako prepared ngayon, pa-quiz ako. Right? So, teachers, instructional planning, lesson planning is important. So, it's also critical or a critical part of the teaching and learning process because, again, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So, it's important that we plan accordingly. So, objectives of lesson planning is learning. That's the first thing, helping teachers set learning targets for learners, which are already provided by DepEd-CG, helping learners guarantee that learners reach those targets through the assessment activities, enabling teachers to see to it that daily activities inside the classroom lead to a learner progress and achievement or the attainment of learning outcomes. So again, may that be weekly lesson plan, weekly lesson log, or daily activities, right? That you can even check their progress. I know it's hard. You will tell me, ma'am, 1:50. I've experienced 1:82 students, right? So it's hard to always monitor everyone. That's why we have individual tasks, individual assessment activities, at least through the results, right? You can see striking improvement. I asked the student to write according to the lines, right, without exceeding the lines. So that's one improvement that you may see. The student actually was able to answer comprehension questions about the story. That's one progress. Okay, why do you think lesson planning is important? Anyone before we dig into the importance? Let me call Ma'am Abigail. Are you there? Okay, given that I have shared with you so many examples about best case scenario, worst case scenarios of what might happen if you do lesson planning, if you don't do lesson planning. Why do you think lesson planning is important? Let me just give me one. Ma'am Jameline, how about you? Mhm. Are you there? Ma'am Marian, you may also click raise a hand. Thank you so much. That is Sir Ming. Go.
Ma'am, sa tingin ko po, kasi sa tulong po ng lesson planning, mas nagiging maayos yung mga lektura na ituturo natin. Hindi po siya
Mm.
nagiging rambol-rambol. So sa tulong din po ng lesson planning, parang nagkakaroon tayo ng basehan kung paano ba natin i-deliver yung mga leksyon na ituturo natin sa estudyante.
Correct. I agree. Right? Why? Because now, I mean, teachers, sometimes for them, it's additional tasks, right? It's additional teaching, tedious tasks. But they don't, I'm not generalizing, okay? But now, because they have a lot of forms to submit, requirements to turn in, right, to the office, they think that, I already have the mastery. I don't need to plan the lesson. right? But it's still, it is important, right, to do, right? Why did I say that? Because I just heard, right, some testimonies or clamor, but magle-lesson plan pa, right? In our case, in college, lesson plan, right? Let's submitting or literally writing lesson plans, right? Is not anymore a requirement in college, even in senior high school, because you have your, for example, module, manual, you have your syllabus to follow. But you know what? The mere way of, for example, preparing my presentation, preparing all the activities here, I'm also doing lesson planning, even though it's not the literal lesson plan, with the parts and the objectives. Well, I still have the objectives that I also uh, get from the module that I prepared, right? So, thank you. That's correct, Sir May. From Ma'am Mitch, para po prepared ng teacher na mabigyan ng quality teaching or education yung mga estudyante. Correct, right? Kasi kung what's that? Whatever happens, happens, right? Or what's that? Just go with the flow. I don't think that's helpful, right? I don't think that's a helpful mindset for you teachers. So let's dig into more importance, or we have more. Okay, guide for the teachers. Correct. It's your blueprint. I usually call it a blueprint, right? It's your plan. For example, it's your first time to do demo teaching. That's what I did, right? When I was in um, my practice, yeah, my practice teaching experience. I have my, of course, definitely during my demo, because I'm not yet, I was not yet a seasoned teacher that time, and I have my lesson plan printed on the table, right? So at least I know, oh, what's next, what's next. At least you have guidance. Okay, so guide for teachers. Lesson planning gives an accurate directions of what he or she is going to do every day. Correct. Right. Accurate direction. It provides teachers with objectives and goals. Correct. All those are provided in the lesson plan. One more. Lesson planning is important because it gives you guide and to help you organize your classroom together with your lectures. Correct. It is really better to have a plan before going into a battle. Yeah, correct. So it's like, you know, wearing the full armor, right, of teacher before going to a battle, because if you will just bring, right, your headphones in a battle, in a war, I don't think right, that will make help you survive there. And it's just headphones, no connection, no mic, no, right? So you're right, right? It's like our weapon, right, that we bring to our class. So the first one is it increases teachers' chance again of carrying out a lesson successfully. It helps you master your learning area, your content, because you review it. It's not one, right? One time looking at it, pasting or typing everything there, or writing everything there, through the preparation of an effective lesson plan. So it enables you, right, teachers, to also relearn what you need to teach, right? Because again, you review it, especially if that's your piece for your demo teaching, final demo teaching. Some critic teachers or some cooperating teachers will even allow you to practice it with other sections, not with the section that where you will or whom you will do your final demo teaching, right? I think I did that before for my final demo teaching. My cooperating told me, okay, you teach this to section, uh, I think B, right, or section A, because I think I chose, because you'll be the one to choose your section, right? The section that you like to. Definitely, you have to memorize all their names, right? Okay, next. It allows you to be more confident, right, before starting a lesson, because you're prepared for it. Or, for example, again, rehearsing your demo teaching with different sections. You will see, I failed to do this, so I will do this in my final demo teaching. Okay, another, it helps you to reflect, right, and what you did, as it allows you again to think about what you did. So, reflective teaching is important. So, for example, ay, hindi ako umabot sa assignment. Ano yung kailangan kong bawasan ng time? Right? Because again, if it's your demo teaching, it's timed. Okay, it's time. It enables you also to think about and reflect on different strategies. Ay, hindi pala effective yung nagtawag ako. Okay, again, I think have I shared with you the raising of left and right hand? Yes or no? No. Okay. So I'm I don't suggest that you do this. Okay. I'm just sharing that this happens. Still, I think it's happening. Okay. I've learned from my when I was a student, like high school, or I've heard about this technique of many pre-service teachers during their final demo teaching, because of course the evaluators would like to see students who are active raising their hands, right? And you know this technique of a pre-service teacher. Okay, class. Okay, he what do you call that? He made them as a he made the students her accomplice rather. If it's right hand, you know your answer, so I will call you. If it's left hand, you don't know your answer, so I won't call you. But you will raise your hand. So I don't suggest that. We have to make it natural. Okay, teachers, let's be natural. If they don't know, they don't know. Okay, so that's hypocrisy. Okay, I said that term. Okay, that's hypocrisy towards the evaluators, right? That's also lying and cheating, right? Why are they raising their hand if they don't know the answer? So, okay, I shared that with you, but please, okay, don't do it. Please, please, please don't do it. Okay, you can use other technique. In my case, I've done the random systematic technique. Okay, give me a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, I've done that here. There are many ways, right, to do, or maybe you have reaction. It's up to your theme because now the trend for Dawa teaching is a thematic approach. For example, the literary piece that you will be talking about is about birthday, right? Celebrating birthday, and uh, and for example, you will let them feel that they're in a birthday party. So you'll prepare birthday hats, right? A party popper and cake and so on. So from beginning till end until homework, you are in a birthday party. That's a trend now, teachers. So just in case, we'll go back now to what do you call this, the face to face, or even if we will still have ACAD contests online, right, in the college or in the university, and you usually have a demo teaching contest for you education students in the college, and just in case. Okay, so that's a trend now, thematic, right? There's a theme of, for example, you will talk about different places, right? So the theme is they will be travelers, right, or tourists, and you are the tour guide, so you may like wear lapel or wear costume. So yeah, that's a trend. So just to share with you that it's now more on thematic approach. Another. Okay, lesson planning also ensures that you truly facilitate learning and you respond to learners' needs inside the classroom. Have a share with you one advice of my cooperating teacher before about walking through the aisle, walking in between the rows of the chairs. Can you give me haha react if I haven't shared that? Okay, because since then, okay, and during my practice teaching, since then, I am very fond of walking, not only in front, not only, right, along the aisle, but I also walk in between rows because in public schools, we have big rooms, right? And unlike at PEP, but we have big rooms. So I walk through the aisles. And what I do, instead of calling them because they're racing them, I would give them a tap or just that a tap or a poke. That means okay, it's your turn, and from their back, so they will be surprised. Oh, ma'am, you called me, right? So that's how I encourage participation before, and since my cooperating teacher was there, she has observed me and she told me, ma'am, okay, iwasan natin yung paglakad, even in okay lang yung sa aisle, tsaka sa harap, sa likod, right? But yeah, thank you for that feedback, Sir Mark. So in that case, because I have big hips, okay? So kung masikip ang mga rows, so may tendency daw na ma-disrespect ako. So I understand that, right? And I address that, right? May mga naughty kids ngayon, right? So, but then, that was advice to me, right? Practice teaching. I started, I think, second year of teaching in college. Okay, I received this testimony again or confession from my student, but it was shared to me after because I can't help because that's how I facilitate. For example, it's a business letter writing class, so I need to check. Oh, are you following instructions? I need to roam around, and I even ask them to uh, sit in circles, right, or be in their comfort zone or comfortable place or position. And so I roam around to check. That's how I facilitate. Okay, and then I didn't realize that. Maybe because I have big hips, so didn't even feel it. Okay, and that was after the sem. That was after the semester that my student confessed to me, ma'am, you know what? She's a girl, so this was what the boys did before. Okay, and I didn't even realize that happened to me. Okay, my student the girl told me, ma'am, you know what? Every time we have class and you roam around because you check about what we're doing, how we're doing. We have armchair, right? For example, this is the arm of the chair. The boys will, right, place their hands in front, right, in front of the arm. So that means if I walk across, that my hips will hit, right? Will hit their hand. So that's disrespectful, right? And the part, but I've forgiven them, right? I don't have anything against them. Okay, so I was just also surprised that, well, they're college students, but they already have that thinking, right, towards their teacher. So I suggest, right, teachers, yeah, let's just also take care of ourselves, right? Not to be disrespected, right, or what abused by our students. Okay, so next, okay, yeah, DepEd Order 42 series of 2016 says well prepared and well planned lessons, okay, are fundamental to ensuring the delivery of quality in teaching and learning in schools. I think someone already shared this, right? The quality. Teaching or education. Correct. That's from Ma'am Mitch. So that's also according to a DepEd order. Again, the words here, the modifiers here used are well prepared, not just prepared, but well prepared and well planned. Okay, who are required to prepare a DLL or DLP? Because again, earlier I told you, because some teachers think that this is a mere requirement, right? So who are required? This is a requirement. So teachers with at least 1 year of teaching experience. Oops, wait, there's a sharing in the chat. Let me read. Ma'am, share ko lang po itong experience ko sa senior high school teacher. She arrived at our room just like a normal day lang po sa amin. And we didn't know po na demo teaching na pala yun. Kasi po mostly po sa mga teachers na naging teacher ko, a week before, 3 days before the demo, teaching day, nagsasabi na, ah, yeah, correct. Unlike po sa teacher na sinasabi ko po, she didn't inform us po na demo teaching na po pala niya yung araw na yun. Well, that's very confident of her. And, later lang po namin na-realize because at the end of the class, she told us to greet the evaluator teacher seated, just one teacher, seated at the back of our classroom. I'm just amazed lang po sa kanya kasi she is not fond of scripted demo teaching. See? Right? Congratulations to her. And that's right. Even when you will be observed, right, by your supervisor, immediate supervisor. I think I've shared that. I don't know, but yeah. Last time, even in the college, we have this surprise observation from. I mean, the observation was announced, but the date of observation was not announced. So the chairperson or the dean might just one day walk across the room or really enter your room and observe your class. And in my case, if that's how I teach, that's how I teach. So, and I am just, I don't know what to feel, but some of my fellow teachers actually were so nervous. They really say, "Hoy, pa-exam ko lang naman yun," or they really need to prepare something about it. And I just thought, are you not really preparing? Like, on your previous classes, right? Why do you have to be so nervous about it? If that's what you're doing, let it be. So that's what I did, right? If I was just, I'm having presentation at that time, I was having my student presentation in front, and I was just giving my, insights. I was just seated in front of the chairperson that time, okay, the former chairperson, and that, okay, it's how I facilitate my class. So I don't think, right, you need to do something else apart from it, and that also makes you distinct. So in that case, yeah, you are right. I admire that teacher also that you shared to us about, right? That yeah, she just wants everything to be normal, right? To happen in a natural way. So again, teachers with at least 1 year of teaching experience, including teachers with private school and higher education institution, teaching experience shall not be required to make a detailed lesson plan. Shall not be. So again, in our case, higher education, that's why we're not required, right? Teachers with even private higher education institution, not required. 1 year of teaching experience, not required. Okay, so in your case, that's why if you are a pre-service teacher, of course, that's a requirement, right? Because you are still preparing to become a teacher. But if you're already a teacher, you have graduated with a bachelor's degree, you applied for a job with at least 1 year of teaching experience shall not be required to make a detailed lesson plan. Okay, sharing here, kami din po, ma'am. During junior high, palagi kaming nagagamit for demo without any warning or, right, any hint. Tapos minsan po, di pa namin masyadong alam yung lesson. So, nahihiya kami pag di namin naayos ang because that should it be, right? I mean, that is how your lesson should go. Even if you rehearse for that it should be natural, right? That your performance, if you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. So that is where also the evaluator will see how will the teacher, right, facilitate, how will the teacher encourage the learners to know the answer, right, to reiterate the answers of the learners, to help them articulate the words to say. So thank you for that, ma'am. Okay, another, teachers who have been in the service for at least 1 year, handling areas, alright, with available learners module. So may learners module na available. And teacher's guide provided by department shall not be required to prepare a DLP. Ang sarap ng buhay. Right? Ay, may learner's module. Ay, may teacher's guide. Right? Again, if you have been in the service for at least 1 year. Right? At nag-handle ng subject areas na may learner's module naman at teacher's guide. Not required to prepare DLP. Instead, you shall be required to fill out a weekly daily lesson log. Ang sarap pa rin ng buhay. Right? Palag-lag na lang. Okay. So, teachers are allowed to work together in preparing DLPs and DLLs. Seasoned or veteran teachers, senior teachers shall also mentor novice or new teachers in the preparation of DLPs and DLLs. So, report nyo na lang sa principal. Ma'am, di ako tinutulungan ni ma'am. Right? But of course, you have to respect their time, right? Maybe you can just take initiative, ma'am. Pwede po mag-ask ng strategy, right? Ano pong way. Let me just share the in a different campus as well. I was observed by the director there on my first year of teaching. First day, like literally my first day. I didn't know she has observed me, right, by just walking uh beside the room, yeah, across the room, and then she called because the kids, not the kids, the students were very afraid of her, and because that's my first day. So, new teacher. I was also afraid towards ma'am. I was afraid of her. And then I was just there in the faculty room and someone told me, Ma'am, pinapatawag ka po ni ma'am. So the directress. And then I was very afraid. I was praying, Lord, may nagawa ba akong mali? And so on. And when I one prominent comment that she gave me was that first day, first experience in front of the students. Okay, that I spoke slowly. Okay, that's why I speak fast now. But I hope I don't sound rapping, right? But that's also the reason, right? I speak continuously. Yeah, I speak like, I don't think that's from your class before. I received a comment about, maybe from a different section. I sound like a DJ in the 1980s, in the 80s. So, yeah, and that's one prominent thing because according to her, that doesn't sound, or that didn't sound smart. Okay, certain about things that you're sharing, and I agree. I agree. Okay, but not too fast, of course. Just, comprehensible still, comprehensible speech. Okay, and then she also told me, anak. She also told me, anak. Okay, teacher ka. So, right, so I shouldn't feel afraid of her just because the students are afraid of her, right? So, I I'm a faculty member there, so of course she supports me, right? So she's pro teachers, of course, because she's also a teacher there. Okay, there's one more message in the comment. Sa amin rin po, ma'am. So, okay po, section namin. Pero dahil nga po scripted, may pasnak si teacher. Okay. Again, I just hope maybe, yeah, you use the term scripted, but I just hope it's not really scripted to the point that, ay, ikaw Ed ang sasagot. Ay, ikaw Mark ang sasagot. Ha? Ito ang sasagot mo. So, I hope that's not the case. Please don't do that in the future, teachers. Okay, another, for these people who are required, newly hired teachers without professional teaching, without professional teaching experience shall be required to prepare a daily DLP for a year. Right? Kasi first time nyo naman. So, it's a good training, right? If you don't have professional teaching experience yet, you shall be required to prepare a daily detailed lesson plan for a year. Wow, ma'am, that's tedious. But yes, it's for your own good. Okay, another, applicant teachers as well as teachers in the service, including master teachers who will conduct demo teaching, shall be required to prepare a DLP, right? Even though you say, ma'am, iba yung pinapa-demo, right? But of course, you are still applying. That's why I told you, you prepare, right, your DLP. Next, newly hired teachers who earned a rating of very satisfactory or outstanding in the RPMS in a year shall no longer be required to prepare DLPs. Wow. So that's your, reward of getting outstanding, right? And very satisfactory rating from the rating sheet, right? Required, yeah, you are no longer required to prepare DLPs. While newly hired teachers who earned a rating of satisfactory shall still be required to prepare DLPs until such time that their RPMS assessment has improved. So again, it's for your own good. However, when new content is integrated into the curriculum, all teachers now are required to write a detailed lesson plan for that content or subject matter because again, that's a new content. In our case, this is really unexpected to be in a new normal, to be in an online class, right? That it's actually not just double work, but triple, I think. Yeah, triple work for the teachers, right? Instead of simply having like all of you being in one class, for example, physical classroom, we're all together one time, big time, that's it. But now we have to prepare modules, right? We have to meet you, announce, also assist correspondence mode and so on. So it's really not an easy life for the teachers given the pandemic situation. Okay, so next, yeah, detailed lesson plan template. Yeah, general template, general parts of LP. Before the lesson, of course, we have objectives. You will just have to copy the content standards, performance standards, learning competencies from the DepEd CG. Okay, you don't need to, beseech your brain cells to think about these things. You just have to copy from DepEd CG. So you already have there. Later, I'll show you sample. Content, right? What's the content? Subject matter, topic. Okay, learning resources, the materials needed, all ha. Make sure it's like your checklist and the procedures. In this case, okay, so before the lesson, this is the lesson opening or the beginning of a lesson implementation. Before the actual lesson starts, the teacher can do a variety of things like your preliminary activities, right? But of course, not limited uh, to reviewing the previous lesson. You have RICO, which we always do, if you notice. Clarify concepts from the previous lesson that learners had difficulty understanding. You may ask that, oh, did you not understand something from the previous lesson? Maybe we can have, right, a 5 minute or 1 minute recall about that. Right? Of course, you introduce the lesson, maybe through objectives, but again, the tip is this is for demo, final demo teaching teachers. You have to using your motivation, right? These are just suggested preliminary activities, but of course, during demo teaching, you don't announce. Right? That's why earlier I still aim not to mention immediately that we will talk about lesson planning. I asked someone, which was Sir Ming, right? And then he told us, "Ma'am, we talk about lesson planning." That's why I can direct you here. So, in the actual, demo teaching, you don't say, "Today, class, we will talk about blah blah blah." No, okay. That's why you will have your motivation. For example, that's a game. Okay, class, we will play a game. Okay, and the analysis of that game will help them figure out and unravel the topic. Oh, you're right. Oh, you're near. To some teachers, they do four picks one word or, you know, the hangman style, right, of giving you letters and then, that is our topic. That's a traditional. Yeah, that's a traditional technique of unraveling the topic. If you can think of a more creative one, then go. I think that's better. But just make sure the title should not be coming from your mouth. Okay, you should not be the one to tell them. Okay, we will talk about right words. No, you won't do that. Okay, the student should do that. Another. Okay, next, you introduce the new lesson, maybe through the objectives and, of course, the motivation. Inform the class of the connection between the old and new lesson and establish a purpose for the new lesson. And state the new lesson's objectives as a guide for the learners. It's important, if you notice, since the beginning of time of our class, of our course, I always present to you the objectives. So, maybe before it's not a practice, right? But then I learned that it's even a requirement in one private sector in the education field to present the objectives. So the students are aware, oh, I will do that. Oh, I will create lesson plan. Oh, we will do this and that. So this part of the lesson is the time to, right? We are now in okay, in during, right, or even before, yeah, this part of the lesson, the time to check learners background knowledge on the new lesson. This is before the lesson. It can also be a time to connect the new lesson to what learners already know. This is where you do the where you apply the theory of constructivism, right? You assume that they already know the activating the prior knowledge of the learners of class. Do you know someone who is blah blah blah? Because you will talk about the character, that characteristic in the story, for example, right? It is also the time that teachers are encouraged to get learners to be interested through your motivational activities, right? In the new lesson through the use of startup or warm up activities. Again even motivation bawal ang mema pa-motivation. Teachers should also allow learners to ask questions about the new lesson at this time to assess if learners understand the purpose of learning the new lesson. One strategy is KWL. Maybe you've done that before, right? Okay, before we uh, learn about this story, I would like you to get your paper or notebook and make 3 columns. Right, Kay, what do you want to know about this? Just by looking at the title, what do you want to know about this? Second, right, what do you want to know? W, what do you want to know about right? The topic, the title of the story, and then they will list questions. They will enumerate questions about what do they want to know, and you set aside after, right, reading, discussing the lesson. Then they will go back to KWL chart. The L now is what they have learned, right? What they have learned. So that is the time also that they should be able to answer all the questions on the middle column. Okay, so that's one. But I hope you will do other things, not always, okay, Monday or first week, KW. Next week, KW. No, you have to think of other strategies. Okay? Next, during the lesson or the lesson proper, this is the middle or main part of your lesson. So during this time, the teacher presents the new material to the class, right? And this is also the time when you explain. Again, let's make it student-centered. So you elicit performance, elicit examples, experiences from the learners. In your case, I like that you take initiative to share in the chat. I really appreciate your participation in the chat, even through speaking, right? You explain, you model it, you demonstrate it, you illustrate it. Last time, again, I facilitated a live demo teaching with BESED, early childhood. And there's one motivation. Well, the purpose of showing that video is to only check if the students can see the screen. Okay? And it's a dance video. Okay, and my suggestion was if you want the kids to also follow, right, the steps, you also need to do it. You may give them time to stand in front of the camera and then do the steps together with you, right? That is modeling, demonstrating what to do. You can be mad and tell them, oh, you're not doing it, but because you're not doing it too. Okay, again, for young learners, modeling is important. Okay, another, right? This is the during the lesson or lesson proper is the part of your lesson where you convey new information to the learners. It's important that you add divergent, convergent learning to the learners. You help them understand and master that information, right? Even you provide the learners with feedback and regularly check for learners' understanding. Giving verbal feedback is very crucial. I think I share with you to search about, right, the 100 ways to praise teachers. We're not limited to very good. Because if you will say, very good, Rizma, very good, Andrea, very good, Elizabeth, very good, and ang sakit sa ulo, di ba? Ma'am, ayoko ng very good. Kahit di na lang ako very good, ma'am. Right? In my case, I mean, it sounds I don't know. It sounds irritating. But that's why we have 100 ways to praise. Even right now, you may search for that. You will see it. That's great. Oh, a bullseye. You got it correctly. Oh, that's perfect. You know what? Oh, I'm sorry. I think you have to change what you mean. Okay. Oh, you have good idea. However, right, there are so many things to give your appropriate verbal, objective, and subjective feedback. Okay. The worst feedback is no feedback. Actually, that's feedback, right? Not. I mean, ignoring the student. That's your feedback, but it's not helpful. Okay. That's not meaningful feedback. Okay, so if teachers also require more time to teach a certain topic, then this part of the lesson can also be a continuation of a previously introduced topic. So, ma'am, hindi ko natapos yung last time. Yeah, that's possible that you may continue it now. Again, you are teaching. This is where, okay, that principle definitely applies. Right? Ma'am, I noticed that my students didn't learn this, and I don't want to jump to the next lesson just because I am way past my fellow teachers, right? Again, we are teaching the students, not the subject. You are there to teach the students. Okay, so next, after the lesson, that is the lesson closing or the end of your lesson. So that can be done through different wrap up activities. Usually, this is again the general template, but some teachers will ask you, okay, add generalization. So you will give your conclusion there, your generalization, summary, synthesis. Okay, teachers can also provide summary of the lesson, just like what I said. You will summarize what the students have learned or ask the students to summarize what they have learned. Teachers can also Ask learners to recall the lessons, key activities, and concepts, which we always do. The lesson or after the lesson activity is meant to reinforce what the teacher has taught and assess whether or not learners have mastered the day's lessons, right? However, just for the sake of doing the recall or generalization, uh, the sad part is we simply allow, or for example, you have experienced the report in class, right? And then you will make a generalization in a way that you will simply ask, okay, what are the elements of blah, blah, blah? And what you're expecting from the learners is what? To simply enumerate, right? So I don't think that, well, that adds somehow to the retention, but in terms of understanding and HOTS level, I don't think that helps. So maybe you can ask them to explain one concept using their own words. I think that's more helpful, right? And that's more effective that you can say, oh, my student really learned about it because he didn't simply enumerate it and he didn't simply read the main headings from the book or from the material. We also have assessment methods that are already integrated into your daily lesson plan. These are assessment methods used by you to regularly check understanding of the material being tackled. Again, the types of assessment or the assessment methods will be discussed to you in another course, which is again the teacher and the school curriculum or um, assessment course. You have assessment course when you go to the next level of this college life. Okay, but to preempt, again, to give you hint, we have formative, assessment, right? Like during, like if every time I ask you, okay, type in the chat, or can someone click raise a hand? If you are asking for recitation, eliciting performance, that's formative. And then you have summative, like at the end, right, of the lesson, you ask them to have sit work, quiz, okay, exams, right? So you have other types of assessment. But for now, yeah, let me share with you the formative assessment of student learning that may be done, before, during, and after a lesson and should be carried out to measure attainment of the lesson objectives. So for the procedures, teachers also may utilize procedures that are generally recognized and accepted in your field, which is elementary, right? So you may do all those, you may get and even adopt or adapt and apply the things that you got from your favorite teacher, for instance, if you have, right? But again, don't mimic, huh? Mimicking is not okay. Maybe you've had that, or you know someone, right, that he or she really admires the teacher and even the verbal mannerism, right, was imitated, like or ano, right, or parang, so, or what the because I can remember I have Filipino teacher in high school, and every time she stands in front, she used to place her right foot on the bottom bottom part of the chair of my students along the aisle, because we have there a place for our bags, right, under the chair. And she always does that posture. And I remember my classmate, I think she's the president of our class before, and because she's a very funny classmate, she used to impersonate all our teachers. So of course, maybe you've done that before, but now that you will become a teacher, right? What, you know, prominent quality would you like your students to impersonate? But again, not mimic. I hope not mimic, right? In my class, also with my English majors last time, they're now teachers, but I remember they tried to, but I was in their room, so it was really for fun, and I really forced them because they told me, "Mom, someone is imitating you and impersonating you," and together with another, but he's not anymore in the college. He was a former teacher in the college, and they tried two students. Okay, they impersonated, one impersonated me, the other one impersonated the other guy teacher, and we were so happy that time. We were just laughing, so hard. In my case, the way he impersonated me was the way I talk, the tone, the attitude. In my case, that's not negative. Okay, that's why I was laughing, right? And in my case, if usually every time I will say something, students tend to repeat aloud, huh, in front of me. So and normally I will react in a way that, what, did I say something wrong? No, ma'am, I just love how you. They will say that. So I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know about them, but yeah, that's how they were fond of my speaking, style. Another, okay, the procedure will also depend on instructional strategies and methods that you will use to teach your lesson. Okay, flexibility, again, this now. Flexibility is encouraged in the implementation of your DLP procedure. You have to be very flexible of thinking other plans, plan B to Z, right? And flexibility in terms of thinking of your assessment activities. If that's too hard, for example, if that's the suggested, right, activity by DepEd. Yes, you may of course you are asked to initiate it, but the if you can see that, oh, it's really hard. I think it's really a high level. Well, we have later, we'll talk about spiral curriculum, spiral approach. So changes in the procedure are allowed based on time constraint or when adjustment in teaching are needed to ensure learners' understanding. So if you think that motivation time eats your time, I think you have to pause, right? And as long as you've got something that you need from the motivation, I think that will do. You have to proceed to your next activity. And for the remarks, that's part of the DLP in which you shall document specific instances that result in continuation of lessons to the following day in case of reteaching, insufficient time, ay nagkulang ng time, hindi ko napagawa ito, and so on. Transfer of lessons to the following day as a result of class suspension or biglaang patawag ng meeting ni principal, right? Usually that happen. Right? Ay, class, sige, kopyahin niyo na muna. Pinapatawag ako ni ma'am. Right? So again, those are, you will also learn about that in the teacher in the school curriculum course, right? On what to do, what do you call that, right? Kapag pinatawag ni teacher, ay ni principal. Another reflection. This part of your DLP should be filled out right after the delivery of lesson. Why? We have the tendency, in my case, I admit I have the short-term memory. That's why if I can share it with you immediately, I have to share it. So I will not forget about it. Usually, you know what? During my speech, I'm already talking about it, and I experience mental block. You know what's my technique? You know my style there. Now let me share. I throw question to the student, and then I take my time to recall what I am saying, and then after entertaining the student, I was able to recall it. So I go back. It's because not really mental block. It's because I have a lot of things to say, that I can focus on things that I just needed to say. So I lost my words. Okay, so teachers are encouraged to think about their lessons, particularly the parts that went well and the parts that were weak, and write about it briefly. Same here, Puma. Short term. Okay, thank you. Same. Okay. One way is to record yourself. Okay, you have your phone, right? That is one way to do reflection. Okay, turn on your voice recorder and put it on the table, on the teacher's table, and let it record your voice. Right? If you have, money, at least to invest on a GoPro, for instance, right? Because of the 360 or 180 wide angle lens, you may also set up a camera in your room. Right? Okay, random question. Kasi po may teacher ako dati na di pa po nag-letter, nagtuturo na po. Pero, yes, but, I mean, that's possible in private schools. But now, even private schools are being strict now in terms of encouraging the teachers to take the let. But again, definitely when you teach in public school, you need to have your license. Okay? But in private school, they still allow, but they now encourage. Why? Because schools have accreditation. We've been busy about that. So accreditation that even the credentials of the teachers are important to qualify to pass accreditation phases of or for the school. Okay, so thank you for that clarification. Okay, so that's one way, record, right? If, for example, you don't notice, ay, ma'am, meron akong verbal mannerism. I always say, ano. Wala na akong na intindihan sa sinabi ko, right? So, or you would like to be mindful about your like that, or parang, right? So, yeah, record your voice. That's one easy way, right? But again, if you can set up a camera on one corner of the room uh, that can see everyone there and what they're doing, then go. Then afterward, you review it, you listen to it. Okay. So in their reflection, teachers can share their thoughts and feelings about their lessons, including things about the lesson that were successfully implemented. I always do reflective teaching. I always reflect on everything, right? Things that I uttered, and the next meeting, if I need to stand corrected, I have to admit because I need to correct what I just said. So that's important. It's also a humbling experience for you, right? Don't say na nasabi ko na eh, right? No. If you realize, ay, mali yata yung nasabi ko, you have to make it clear. Okay? It could be adjusted in the future as well. So, as in your DLL or daily lesson log, you can also talk about your learners who did well in the lesson and those who need help. So with the help of, for example, the camera, right, the video, you may take note, si Ed, I think I need to focus on Ed, on Elizabeth, on Sir John. So you have to take note of important kids that you need to take. Because I am a very keen observant teacher and I'm very particular with that. So usually students who get my attention are those who tend to not be so hype in the class, right? Mas nandun yung focus ko rather than the most active because they're already there. The active ones are already there. But in terms of, for example, they have low energy and right, they seem to not be interested in the subject. Maybe not to you, but in the subject. So you focus on that and you because in my case, okay, with that practice of mine, I tend to make them the most active at the end of the sem. And that's a fulfilling experience. That's a fulfilling achievement for me. Okay. For example, I learned that this student is not always reciting, and then I call him or her. And then usually I tend to call him or her, and then it boosts because some students, they have their ideas, but they are shy, right? Based on my experience too as a student, I was just shy to raise my hand, right? But I have my answers because I was a student who's used to thinking about everything first and preparing everything I need to say before I say it. I don't want to waste time. Like I raise my hand and then I was to think about it. Well, that's my technique, but and it's a fulfilling experience because I get to help them change the way they, behave in the class. Sir Ed, would you like to share something that makes you happy at the moment? I'm sorry, you know me, I'm easily, what more in the physical classroom, right? But I'm easily interrupted in different expressions. So, Sir Ed, why are you so happy? Can you share your joy to us? It's okay. If you think that's not are related, maybe I can help you relate it. Okay, that's one thing, okay? Because students tend to feel embarrassed if the teachers get their attention. In my case, what I do, because again, I orient them at the very beginning of the class. I am easily interrupted with two people chatting, a different facial expression, and then I always get to know what was in their mind. And then they will always say, Mom, hindi naman related, wag na po. And then I don't know, but again, I also pray for it. And my surprise, okay, God gave me the wisdom to connect kahit Mobile Legend yung pinag-uusapan, ulam mamaya, right? I was able, so far, I was able to connect it to what we're talking about. So, nagugulat sila, aba ma'am, nalusot mo pa yon or and so and so on. So, in that case, yeah, because I think I also orient you about it. I would like our class to be a sharing class, right? That no one will be shy about sharing your insights because again, I've experienced to be deprived of my, opinions, my answers. So I don't want that to happen to you. So if possible, if you can share it, whatever that is, type it in the chat, share it through your microphone and so on. Okay, another. Okay, daily lesson log. So it's a template teachers use to log parts of their daily lesson. So again, this is easier and not anymore that tedious compared to DLP or semi-detailed lesson plan. So integrated into a DLP or assessment methods used by the teacher to regularly check the student's understanding of the material being discussed by the teacher. So this is an example. If you can see here, let me move. Okay, this is prepared by Ma'am Desiree de los Reyes. I just got this from a source, and that's her school, first quarter, English, grade 6. Okay, so dated 2017. So the objectives are divided into three. So these are already found in DepEd CG. Copy the content standards, performance standards, learning competencies, or objectives. So it's here. Oh, it says here, write the LC code, the learning competency code for each. If you have noticed last time, right? If you when you browse the DepEd CG, you have their letters with numbers. Those are the code for the competencies. So you may also include here. The teacher did not include. So as you notice, sorry, that was fast. Okay. As you know, this content, it's or topic or subject matter that pertains to the particular content. So what's the content? What's the topic in English? So this is just a template. So learning resources include your references, the source, definitely teacher's guide, learner's module, teacher's guide pages. Okay, you just have to log the pages here, textbook pages, additional material. And yeah, procedures now connects the lesson. So that's review or recall, a purpose of the new lesson, motivation. Okay, you will have now to present also examples of the new lesson, discuss new concepts. Okay, continue discussing new concepts for different skill, for another skill. Okay, develop mastery. You may now do your first formative or during assessment. Usually for stories comprehension questions. Who are the characters? If you were the character, would you do the same? So on and so. It depends on your subject matter. Find practical applications of concepts. So application is just the third level, right, of Bloom's levels of thinking skills by Bloom. And still, right, it's one way to check, a student can apply, right, the lesson they learn to their own life. So that's important, right? Evaluate the learning. It can be your quiz, additional activities. If you have more activities, then put everything there. Your remarks, right? And of course, reflection. So for example, the number of, you already have guide in the template. Number of learners who earned 80% in the evaluation. So that's why you usually ask them, okay, raise your hands. Who got 7, right? Who got 8? Who got 9? So you may conduct a survey about that. Number of learners who require additional activities. So you have to take note of them. It can be names or number, okay, or number of males, number of females. Did the remedial lessons work? Okay, number of learners who have caught up with the lesson. So if you did remedial lessons, right, because again, you are after the learning of the students, you are not just after literally teaching what's in the DepEd CG, well, that's good for you. Number of learners who continue to require remediation. For example, after remedial class, nag-read ka ng nagpabasa ka na ng new story. for reinforcement pero hindi pa rin masagutan ang comprehension questions. So that is the time you may also take note, I think this kid needs more remediation. Which of my teaching strategies work well and why did these work? Or you may also add teaching strategies that didn't work. So these are good points for reflective teaching practice. Okay, next, flexibility. Okay, I told you it's important and flexibility is allowed in the delivery of the DLL procedures. You do not need to go through all 10 parts of the DLL in every lesson. You need to ensure that the procedures of the lesson lead to the achievement of the stated objectives. That's why even in the previous breakout session activity of lesson planning, I told you to check, right? Is is my motivation found? Is it found in the objective? Is my first, for example, individual guided activity can be achieved is congruent to my objective? That's how you check, huh? Make them congruent to one another. Okay, so some features of the K-12 curriculum: spiral progression, constructivism, differentiated instruction, contextualization. For the spiral progression, so the K-12 curriculum follows now the spiral progression of content or approach to curriculum. This means that students learn concepts at an early age and learn the concepts, same concepts repeatedly at a higher degree of complexity as they move from one grade level to another. If you have browsed DepEd CG for in mathematics, you will see there it's just called number sense and sequence, right? But number sense and sequence grade 1, grade 2, number sense and sequence, but they differ with the degree of difficulty or complexity. For example, grade 1, 1 to 10, grade 2, right? However, I've learned again from my cousin, Kinder, right, that they're asked to actually count beyond their level. Well, yeah, it has something to do with the teacher. See? So we have to make sure that everything is age appropriate. So note that that its current approach to reforming rather the basic educational system in the Philippines is an example of spiral approach. So DepEd tries to cover too many things at one time without focus and prioritization. So DepEd does not see the importance of first things first, the importance of prerequisites, the essence of mastery. But now we have the K-12 curriculum. So for example, just like what I'm saying, grade 1 addition, grade 2 addition, but with different levels. For example, grade 1, 1 digit, grade 2, 2 digits, grade 3, 3 digits. Still depends on your curriculum. Okay, so if we do not think spirally, why do we have to learn or teach spirally, right? And this is what makes it so difficult. So there are many right words in the quote and the right intentions, but as long as the fundamentals are wrong or the basic things are wrong, the pedagogy or the teaching strategies behind the spiral approach is not viable. So concepts, classes are not organized in a single hierarchy. Rather, there is a web of related classes in which a variety of hierarchies can be distinguished. We even promote multidisciplinary in the class, right? Science mixed into math or mixed with math, right? English with Filipino for the language use. So again, recognizing individual hierarchies is as important as discerning relationships between the classes. So studies from US and Canada uh, show that American schools follow a spiral curriculum in mathematics. Normally, it's applied in mathematics, but now in all subjects. In British Columbia as well, reading and math are the two crucial elementary school subjects required for high school and life beyond. But British Columbia's elementary math curriculum is crippling learning, especially among disadvantaged students. So presently, teachers face having grade 4 classes who still cannot add 567 plus 942 nor multiply 7 times 8 because the grade 1, 2, and 3 teachers were forced to spend so much time on graphing, polygon circles, estimating quantity and size, and other topics in mathematics. So that's the situation in British Columbia. And because elementary math fails to provide a solid foundation, many, basically capable students simply give up when faced with the shock of high school algebra, right? Algebra is there, even lower, younger age, right? Low level, but or early levels of education. It's just a matter really of the difficulty or degree of complexity. So this is an example of a kindergarten classroom layout for literacy. So they have poetry here, writing, handwriting, art, ABC, right? Where, of course, ideal setup of a kindergarten classroom. So the spiral curriculum requires that progress is indeed achieved in each year, right? Otherwise, of course, it becomes circular. Combined with learner center, the spiral curriculum can indeed become circular with the students learning the same thing over and over each year. And you want progress, right? You want to see improvement among your learners. So that happens when an individual student fails to grasp or master the material in the first pass. As a result, in the next year, right, the teacher will have to cover the same material, which is, we can honestly say that that's, of course, additional, load or burden for the teacher, right? So remedial intervention does not occur easily when topics are presented to students in a mixed fashion. So the spiral nature pushes the students into various topics without giving enough time, right, to master each topic. In elementary schools, this is not yet a serious issue since the material to be learned is usually appropriate for the age, right, of the children. But if you can recall, I told you earlier, one teacher, just for the sake of being on trend and because she knows that the student is more on the trend or K-pop song, so she uses the songs. But again, not appropriate for the age. So in high school, the spiral curriculum not only requires good teachers who can handle multiple disciplines, but also a different type of textbook. Students cannot have four textbooks each year, for example, for the sciences to cover all four areas of the spiral curriculum: biology, chemistry, physics, and earth sciences. I'm a product of the old, right, curriculum, and this is our setup before, right? First year, um, general science, second year, biology, third year, chemistry, fourth year, physics. So using four separate textbooks will not define how each of these areas will be covered in each year of high school. Um, Admit it or not, right? If you experience that, well, in my experience, for example, chemistry, I can only remember, of course, the periodic table of elements. And you only grasp one thing about each. In fact, one of the materials in school that operational defines what will be covered is the textbook. So, thus, without a textbook, the content of these science courses or subjects will be unclear. So the public is not made aware of the details. Instead, the DepEd simply throws these terms in a rhetorical fashion, promising that these are the solutions to the country's present problems in math and science education. Unfortunately, these are not the solutions. These are additional problems. So next, constructivism. The K-12 curriculum views learners as active constructors of knowledge. This is also one reason I told myself that it's really hard for me if I would. But I'm experiencing it now, only to one student. But in terms of literally being in the field, for example, young learners, I am more into students who have something to tell me. It's not that I need to spoon feed things to them. So yeah, because also I started teaching college. So I apply this theory of constructivism that teachers provide learners with opportunities to organize and reorganize their thinking and construct their own knowledge that is meaningful to them. So in your case, when I ask a question, you always have something to say about it. Next, is differentiated instruction. So all the K to 12 teachers are encouraged to differentiate their teaching in order to help different kinds of learners meet the outcomes expected in each lesson. That's why I told you earlier, if you will use KWL chart, don't do it, all right, every day of the class. So different station or differentiated instruction means providing learning options in the classroom so that learners of varying interests, abilities, and needs are able to take in the same content appropriate to their needs. If you notice, we have different ways, right, of the assessment activities. I hope you notice that. Different experience every assessment, like graphic organizer, right, breakout session in Canva, for instance. A different output. Okay, so we have contextualization. I mentioned about this. So K to 12 curriculum shall be learner centered, inclusive. So there shouldn't be, gender bias. Yeah, racial discrimination in your content. Everything must be considered. For example, you were talking about. I think I mentioned this before. You're talking about dulaang panlansangan, right? And then you are presenting to them, for traditions, definitely traditions of one faith, right? We can force it to them. They can appreciate it, but you can force them to do it. Why? Because they have their own faith. You have to consider that, right? It should be developmentally appropriate, relevant, timely. Um, you may also make this your bookmark, right? Or read for later in your phone. You can search for news articles about relevant or new trends. So you are always up to date, responsive. Again, but being up to date is not just being up to date, if you know what I mean, right? Ma'am, update TikTok ngayon. So, but if the content is not applicable to age, appropriate to age, please don't, right? Do not poison the minds of the young learners. Okay? You have to discern, review, and select appropriate materials. Next, research based, culture sensitive, contextualized, localized, indigenized instructional materials. Use available materials to the students, global and flexible enough to allow schools, I already said the terms, enhance the same based on their respective educational context. Next, of course, we cannot anymore stay away from this ICT integration, right? So in teaching and learning, it involves all activities and processes, right? With the use of technology, modern and traditional, that will help promote learning and enhance the abilities and skills of both learners and teachers. So these are tools to produce, store, process, distribute, and exchange information. The use of computers can speed up the preparation of your lessons. In our case, I think, right, this opportunity as well that we can still open, right, schools even virtually. So, what about in giving assignment? What's your clamor before? Have you heard about that? I think we've talked about this before, right? There's a clamor of no homework policy, but there's also limitations, right? That not during weekends because that's for family time, family day, right? So, providing assignment or homework is a form or of post lesson formative assessment. I am pro homework. Right? Again, if the teacher can check it with the student, all right, upon meeting again, well, go for homework. But if you know that you can check it, please don't assign. Right? Kawawa ang bata. They will not know if they did it correctly, right? So you have to check it if you will assign homework. And of course, because homeworks are what? Not just they're related to the lesson, but they also allow learners to master what was learned during the lesson, or it's really a reinforcement for retention, for mastery of what has been taught to them. So you must also check your assignments promptly, just like what I said. Giving of assignments is optional and should follow the provisions of DepEd Memorandum Number 319, Series of 2010, entitled Guidelines on Giving Homework or Assignments to All Public Elementary School Pupils. Ma'am, meron palang guidelines. Yes. right? So we have to be aware of these laws, policies, so we will not be reported just because of our ignorance. Again, ignorance to the law excuses no one, right? So giving of assignments should also be optional in all other grade levels. It doesn't mean it's part of the LP, right? You always have to, assign. It's still optional depending on the guidelines and parameters provided by DepEd. So we have monitoring and evaluation, which is very important. The preparation of your DLPs, DLL shall be part of the performance assessment of those who are in teacher one. Of course, when you enter public school, you're teacher one, or teacher one, two, three, and master teacher one, two, three, four positions through the RPMS. You are being monitored and evaluated. And look at it as a good thing. Okay, compliance with DLP and DLL preparation shall be monitored following the RPMS cycle, right? You will be faced with 40 plus or more than forms. Teachers with exemplary DLLs or DLPs may be provided with incentives. O see, maybe you will be encouraged by that. Okay, gagawa na lang ako lagi ng DLP. May incentive pala. Okay, but of course that has guidelines and limitations. So the definition and rubrics of exemplary DLLs or DLPs will be issued in a separate policy. So you may just read on that. So our secretary Leonor Briones says, the DepEd understands that part of the concerns of teachers regarding the DLL is its new format. With this, the DepEd wishes to assure teachers and the public that the new DLL format was created with the best, we hope and pray. Of course, we've seen that, right? With the best interests of teachers in mind, of course. The new DLL format is simply meant as a planning tool for teachers in terms of budgeting time and choosing the most appropriate activities and assessment strategies. Let's avoid, right, now, especially in the physical classroom, if you're not the user of the room to over time. That happened to me when I had my practice teaching and I said sorry. But now, yeah, another teacher did that to me. Right? Targeted in each lesson is meant as a tool to help teachers deliver lessons more effectively each time they step in front of their class. May I ask if you have your next class after this, Amarisma?